First of all, thank you so much for being here, Melon T. It is an honor. I am a huge fan. You are hilarious. Like, not only in like the videos. First of all, like the videos that you make are just really awesome. On Twitter, you are hilarious. Like, I don't know, like, like that is exactly what made me go like, though. This is probably the perfect person to talk with me about Sanji.
I have like two separate audiences. The amount of times I've been like replied to on Twitter with, "Wait, are you the girl on YouTube that makes the One Piece videos?" And it's like, yeah, that's me. So there's a whole bunch of people who just follow me on Twitter and have no idea that I do One Piece videos. And then vice versa. The people on YouTube probably don't even know my Twitter. Like, not all the time, right? So it's like I've accidentally created two like Sanji spaces, I suppose, on Twitter and YouTube by accident.
Because every video you make turns into a Sanji video. So I just feel
I
like,
know.
you are untethered. You can run wild. So I've got a couple of stuff that I definitely want to talk about. The first, I guess I'll just open it up. The first time that One Piece made me cry was during the Variety A arc, like with Sanji's
Oh,
like
that's what
goodbye.
I like to hear. Fantastic. That makes me very happy.
Yeah,
Because I was the same.
it gets me every time. It really does. Like when I saw Chef Zeph and Sanji's relationship, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I didn't think that they hated each other, but like I just didn't like. I think that's the first time when Oda pulled the okey doke on me, where he was like, ah, gotcha, surprise.
The same thing happened for me. I was so confused when I first watched One Piece because I'm not a shonen head for one. So like I'm not exactly. I mean, I'm aware of shonen tropes, but like
Mm.
not to the full extent. So I was like, is this a shonen thing where they just hate each other? Like, what's going on? I was so confused. And like, because they truly do feel like they hate each other because you've got Zeph yelling like, "Get out of my restaurant! I don't want you anywhere here." And and Sanji saying, "I'm going to stay here till you die, till you're dead." And I'm like, what are they talking about? They must actually hate each other. And then you get hit with the whole, the all blue scene. Zeph talking to Sanji like he's his son. Like I love the whole
Oh,
conversation that Zeph has with Sanji when Luffy's fighting Don Craig, and Zeph's like talking to him like, this is what following your dreams is. This is what it looks like. And Sanji's just taken aback, and it's like it feels like his dad. What's going on? Is this his dad? And then
that's
you get his
yeah.
backstory and everything, and it just messes you up. It just totally messes you up.
I think it really, when it started, like, oh, I'm so happy because when he was looking at Sanji just talk about the all blue, like, that's when it started to get me. I was like, oh no, I think
Exactly.
I'm gonna cry. I was like, oh
It's
no.
like that's his boy. That's his son. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
He's just, he's resting his head in his hand like that idiot. And I was like, oh no, they love each other. Oh no. And then, of course, like the end when he like, man, it gets me every single time when he's just like, oh, there's Zeph, and he like throws his head down, dude. It
Yeah.
seriously gets me every single time.
This is a fun fact that I have. I found out in Japan the Sanji scene there where he throws down his head and says, "Thank you for keeping me like alive under your roof." That's a meme in Japan. I didn't understand why, and it's because the motion of bowing on the ground. That's like very like that's crazy. You don't tend to do that in Japan. That's like the biggest respect you could ever show. It's insane.
Hmm.
But he's also swearing and speaking informally. So it's really strange that he's showing so much respect and also saying, "You crap geezer, you stupid, like, you stupid cook, like, chef, thank you for." Just such a weird image that he's being so respectful, but also swearing at the guy he's being respectful to.
That's all. It feels like family to me, honestly. In fact, with everything that
Yeah.
they've like been through, like it just like I don't know. I love their dynamic so much. Would you say that that's like, or do you have a favorite Sanji moment like in the entire series?
Oh God, there's a lot. I mean, one of my favorites will forever be that I want to go back to the sunny. That just
Oh
made me
yeah.
sob. I'll never forget that one.
I think that
Um,
Luffy steals the scene in that though, because he's like, well, of course, because that's who you are. And
Yeah,
I
that's
was
who you
like,
are.
oh.
Yeah, it's a double up thing. It's more so like if I'm just looking at it with Sanji, it's because through the whole arc, of Whole Cake Island, he was trying to be strong. He was
Hmm.
trying to like keep everything in, and then it literally takes like Luffy saying, "Please just tell me the truth," essentially for Sanji to just cry. And I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
this is too much for me." And also because I'm a psychopath, I also really like when he's crying outside the window when Pudding's like, "I hate him. I hate his ass. He's stupid and lame, and he's a loser and he's useless."
God, no, that's
Sobbing quietly.
that being one of your favorite Sanji moments is pretty crazy, but
It,
like,
it's it's normal for a Sanji fan,
yeah,
okay,
I would
to
say.
like these moments.
I mean, I like the moment. I just think that because I think what's so awesome about that moment is it didn't make me hate pudding. Like, I just really,
Exactly.
really, really hurt for Sanji. And Sanji wasn't even mad. Sanji was honestly like, well, that makes sense. And I was like, oh no, like that hurts
Yeah, he was
so
like, well, I
bad.
am useless.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, man. So I guess I could
It's just
count that. Yeah.
yeah, everything about that scene, including the trying to light his cigarette and just the light being put out. And it's like, the metaphor for that and everything, that was his last bit of hope and it was gone. It's like, oh my God, this is terrible. But it was great, but it was terrible. I love feeling pain. I love tragedy, so it was awesome.
One of my favorite moments with him isn't even necessarily a moment, I guess. It's his entire interaction with, and I don't remember her name, but it's the woman who had a mouse in Wano. I don't remember what her name was,
Oh
but
God, it starts with an O, I think.
I don't know. I want to say Choo Choo because of the mouse. That's all that I
Choo-Chee's the
remember.
mouse.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Choo Choo. Yeah. Yeah, so but that's all that I remember, but I just think that entire like it's a perfect like vacuum of like all of the like he should definitely be in horny jail, but like none of the antics that he like does to be in horny jail exists in his interactions with her. He's specifically
Yeah.
like it's such a great and he's so oblivious when she was trying to be like, hey, are you gonna come back here, like almost in a way like, hey, I love you, let's do something. He completely doesn't
Hawk?
realize it. Yeah, doesn't understand
Her
at
name
all.
is Some. Some, by the way, I believe is her name.
Oh my god, I think that hit me because it's like we had like all of those flashbacks with him being nice to like mice and stuff like that, like really getting in his ratatouille bag, and like and then like there's just this woman like with a mouse, and it's just like I don't know, there's like that was a really cool interact. I hope we go back to Wano, and I hope she's got more scenes with him. I just really do.
Yeah, I really like because there's also like Wano had so many good Sanji moments when he yells for Robin's help as well.
Oh
That
yeah.
God, I love that moment so much. But also when he saves Somewhere, and she's clearly looking for Chuchi because the battle's over, and he pulls
Mm.
Chuchi out of his pocket and says,
Yeah.
"Here you go."
Yeah,
Oh my God.
and then just passes out too because it's just like, oh, that took everything out of
Yeah.
it. But I do think it's fair. I think it's fair that we list some of the things. Like this isn't even like everything that I'm gonna mention like here. It's not like I'm taking this away from it. But I just think it's fair that we mention some
I
of
know, yeah.
the funniest, but also like maybe he
The
should
terrible
be.
things he's
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
What he should be in jail for,
yes,
his crimes, his
yes,
sins.
yes,
We're
yes,
weighing
yes.
his heart against the scale.
Yes, truly, truly, truly. Like that is exactly like, and I'm so happy that I found this clip because I was looking for it for so long. But this is filler, but it still stands out to me so much. It's when they do the thing where it's a filler and they're doing like a TV broadcast. And Sanji's in like this, like I think it's like a frog costume or like a dinosaur costume.
Dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, for the next 26 hours
I'm
and
gonna
57,
stare
I'm gonna
at-
stare at you. And then he just grunts at the camera for hours. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh, put him under the
Oh.
jail. Good God.
Get rid of him. Also, for future reference, if you are ever struggling to find a Sanji clip, just reach out to me. I can probably find it.
You're the
I'm
archive.
not like I truly wish this was a joke, but it's not. I have many friends that go, Mel, when did this happen? And I'm like, let me go pull out my notes. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
You are the perfect person to have this conversation with. Then, oh my gosh, that's perfect. That's great. You're the archive for Sanji moments. That's awesome. Like, do you have a moment that sticks out? Like, would be like, all right, to be fair, this is something he should be in prison
Too much.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'll admit I'm a bit of a Sanji coper. It's look, I'll admit that much. But it's because I've explained it on like streams before. It's because I've seen again quite a few shonen anime, not just shonen anime, other anime with the perv trope. So I thought that Sanji would be the same thing. And someone said it to me best. They said, so you're saying he's the best of the worst. And I would agree. In terms of the perv trope, Sanji's kind of not really the trope. Like, yeah, he has moments, but you don't just call him a perv. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
it's
so much
deeper
more
than that. It's so much deeper.
So
yeah.
it's like because I've been, I want to say, desensitized to the anime perv jokes, Sanji doesn't feel that bad to me, which maybe he should be, I don't know, but there's moments that I've had, like, the moment in Punk Hazard when he's in Nami's body and he's like,
Yeah.
grabbing his own
Yeah.
breasts. Even that was so ridiculous to me that I personally wasn't uncomfortable with that, only because I was like, this is so stupid. that it's so
Yeah.
unrealistic that I can't help but laugh. And that's just me. And I understand not everyone's like that, but like when he like went, oh God, I can't run in like this body anymore, and then he grabs his own boobs and then he just like
He just
speeds up and
takes
he's like, oh my
off.
God.
Yeah, that shit.
I was like, this is stupid. I can't do this. But the one thing that I remember he did that really, really pissed me off, it was too much. And it didn't make me hate him, but I was like, don't do that. When he sniffed Corona in Sabaody after the time skip.
I'm so glad. That
This
wasn't even in my notes. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was the part for me. I was like, okay, that's just
Yeah.
there's no way I
The
can
sniffing
defend
was
that.
too much. I was like, why you like get away from her. What are you doing?
I mentioned that
But
so
that
many times whenever I do a video and Sanji comes up, I'm like, listen, I get it. All right. He sniffed Perona. I'm not
yeah, but you
defending
don't
it,
do it.
but
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like,
You think about it, but you don't do it. I'm a woman lover, you know, I also get it, but you don't do
you
it.
don't just sniff
So
like.
it's exactly. And the other thing and like how do I don't think it was set up well, I suppose, because I know a lot of people don't like his scene in Thriller Bark with Absalom, where he's
Yeah.
talking about the invisible fruit. But again, I think I'm just desensitized to like the worst anime pervs ever. In my opinion, it's such a different thing to do something or to say something. I just saw that as okay, he's just got a dirty mind. But at the same time, he's saving Nami and he's making sure like nothing is hurting her. And I was like, he's saying one thing, but I'm watching him do the complete opposite. So it's like, as long as he doesn't do it, I suppose I don't really care that much if he has just a filthy mind. But then, of course, in Wano,
I was about to say, like, the Wano thing
then
is
in Wano,
probably like, yeah, that's for me. That's when
that
I
was a
was
bit
like,
much.
okay.
But
Like,
even then, and I always, and again, I understand the Sanji cope and all that stuff. But the reason the Wano scene also didn't like tip me over the edge into hating Sanji or anything is because it was a mixed bath. And I was like, why didn't he just walk in? There was no reason for him to go invisible. Literally, when that happens and when Nami's towel drops, there's men everywhere because she's in a mixed bath.
I
Everyone
never
was
put
there.
that together. I never even thought of that. Oh my
That's
god.
why it made me laugh because I was like, why? He can just walk in. What's his problem? There was no reason he had to sneak into that building.
I never thought of that. You're right. Why did he do that? Oh my god.
It was bizarre, and I remember how weird it was because I remember the scene opened with Nami in the bath with the men on the other side of the bath.
He's so stupid.
Exactly right. Like this is like it's a weird fantasy he's like doing, but it's like you don't have to do that.
Oh my god. He's so stupid.
You'd be surprised how many people didn't realize that, and every time I
Oh,
tell them that, the exact same reaction. Wait, you're right. Why
wait.
didn't he just walk
Why
in?
didn't he just walk in, dude? Oh, that's
Of
so
course, the real
awful.
answer is because, and I hate Oda for this, is because he wanted Drake and Hawkins to see Stealth Black, so they had to run in to see
Yeah,
Stealth
because
Black.
they like fangirled over it like immediately.
Yeah,
Like
they
they were
fell
just
over
like,
and with hard eyes.
yeah, literally. And then Law
I'll
too.
never forget that scene. Yeah,
Law loves Stealth Black.
it's the North Blue boys. They love Germa like freaks, little fanboys they are. So it's like I get why Oda did that because he had to show Stealth Black, but I was like, this is so ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous to me. I can't deal with this.
I feel that is so. I cannot believe I never realized that is like he could have just literally walked in. But I feel like no. I mean, there's no like. There's not really. I feel like he knows that if he did, like Nami and Robin probably wouldn't let him. But at the same time, like I don't know. Like it's like I don't know.
I
I don't
want to
know.
believe maybe he was just a little shy. He was
I
like,
think
oh, I
that
can't
has to
strip
be
in front
it.
of the ladies.
I think that has to be it. That's also the reason in Thriller Bark that I feel like he was like, yeah, I want like, well, I don't know if he was doing this consciously, but I think in Thriller Bark when he was saying all this, I think Otis for sure like, yeah, this is why he wants to be invisible. But then you like see like his childhood and how horrible it is,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
he
just
finds,
like
oh my
I don't
god.
know. That little kid,
And
you
he sees
telling me
the,
that little kid Sanji was looking in that book like, oh, the
yeah,
invisibility fruit, I'm gonna sneak and
I'm
peep
gonna
on women?
sneak, yes.
No, I don't think
That's
so.
exactly it. This is why I hate Oda because he does these things with Sanji where you go, I'm not sure about that, but you can explain in like a good way why this is actually happening. It's like Sanji doesn't say what he means, and yes, he's a perv. Yes, he does gross things, but it's like I can, interpret. Oh, the real reason he wanted the invisibility fruit was because he just wanted to disappear, and Oda's made that into a joke, and it's like that's so sad. You know what I mean? So it's like I
Yeah.
get why people are uncomfortable with that, but it's like seeing his backstory and seeing the invisible fruits thing, and I was like, wait a minute, these
Yeah.
things are piecing together in a terrible way.
Because he didn't have to add that scene into his childhood flashback of little kid Sanji reading the book like, "Oh, that's the
Of
fruit
devil
that I
fruits.
want." Like, there's no
Yeah.
way he was that sinister as a little kid. Like, there's no way that's what he wanted it for. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
according to little kid Sanji, he thought it was fine to beat up women. Because I always think about when Zeph was like, "I don't hit women," and Sanji was like, "Why? Why don't you beat women?"
Oh, that's such a good scene too. He like politely, or not, well, not politely. Nothing that they do is polite to each other, but he like explains like, don't become someone I hate. I really love that scene
Yeah.
between him and Zeph too. Um, oh my gosh. So then the next thing I want to ask, this is so we've mentioned the some of the bad. We'll go back to the good. This is a part that I really love, and I would love for you to kind of like expand on what this moment means. And you touched on it like a lot in your video, reframing Robin's goodbye. But Sanjay's line, "A
Mm.
man always like forgives a woman's lies." I want to like
Yeah.
really, because like when I heard that, I don't even think that when I first heard it, I don't think I think I just interpreted that as like, okay, Sanji's chivalry coming out. This is what he believes. It's not necessarily
Mm.
like, it means something very personal and deep to him.
Yeah, a lot of people. I didn't even realize that was a controversial scene. So context, when I read One Piece over 3 months, right?
Mhm.
Read and watched it, I was not in the fandom space at all. I knew nothing about this series. So I was completely in the dark watching it, and I didn't realize what scenes were controversial, what wasn't, what people didn't like, all that kind of stuff. So when I got online and found out that that scene is something people fight over, I was baffled
Yeah.
because it feels very clear to me what's happening. But I think what happens is when Sanji says that line, a lot of people, especially men,
Yeah.
take it as like, oh, well, if a woman like cheats or if she's like abusive or something,
Yeah, you just
you know,
simp
she
over her.
she can she
Yeah.
can just lie, you forgive her lies, right? And it's like, but it's like that is absolutely not what Sanji's talking about. In the context of the Robin scene, she's lying to them because she wants to save them, because she's willingly handing herself to protect the Straw Hats. Uh, so she can't tell them the truth because she's, got trust issues and she's worried about what's going to happen in regards to the Straw Hats. So she lies and she says, "I don't want anything to do with you. I don't care about you. I'm a demon. I'm a devil. Leave me alone. Don't ever talk to me again." And of course, Chopper's just absolutely in tears because he can't believe he's hearing this because Chopper's a very innocent, little
Yeah.
guy. He takes everything at face value.
Yeah.
And of course, Sanji immediately clocks that because Sanji himself is a sacrificial person. Sanji himself has lied about, like, uh, keeping, I suppose, promises. I mean, it's not that his whole life is a lie, but he literally had to keep hidden his past because of things that happened in his childhood, right? So Sanji being a sacrificial person, similar to Robin, of course, he clocked her and said to Chopper, "A man always forgives a woman's lies," as in she's telling these lies for a reason. We must trust that there is a good reason for these lies. And there always is, and it happens again and again and again and again. During Arlong Park, what was Nami doing that whole time with the Straw Hats through
Lying
all
her
of the
ass
East
off.
Blue? She was
Yeah.
lying her head off.
Yep.
And Sanji was stepping forward. Like Zoro went to bash Nami's head, and if anyone remembers that, when she was like,
Yeah.
"I killed Usopp." And Zoro
Yeah.
went to go cut her, and Sanji said, "What the hell are you doing?"
Sanji's like, "You
So
idiot,
he
you."
even back then, exactly,
Yeah.
he even back then trusted Nami, and he didn't even really know Nami that well at that point. And then Connis in Skypiea, she was lying to them about like the area of Skypiea, about the dictator that they didn't know resided there.
Mm.
Luffy even clocked it and like said, "Why do you look so nervous? What's going on?" Sanji didn't hold that against Connis because we realized something's going on in Skypiea.
I love Skype.
And
Good
then
God, dude.
I love
It's
Skypiea.
so
And
fucking
then it
great.
happened, of course, again with Water 7 with Robin. And then it happened again with Dressrosa when Viola cried to him and he said, "I'll always like believe in a woman's tears." And then
Yeah.
we find out through that Viola was actually
Yeah.
imprisoned by Doffy and she was made essentially a slave in Doffy's family.
Yeah.
And she needed the help but she was too scared to reach out for anyone's help. And Sanji refusing to fight her or be violent towards her and saying, "No, I believe your tears. I believe what that you cried in front of me for a reason there." Because again, she was lying to him,
Hmm.
essentially. And she broke down as well and realized Sanji's a good man that she can trust. But it's
Yeah.
happened. And Pudding as well.
I was
Pudding
about to
totally
say,
lied
yeah,
to him.
yeah. Whole Cake Island is probably the most impressive example of like that was what
A
because I
man,
don't know
yeah.
that I believe I didn't like I said I never hated Pudding, but I didn't believe the shift would be just like all he did was say, "Oh, what a beautiful eye," folded. She folded immediately, and I
Yeah.
was like, "That's there it goes." Like like I always think that the cool thing about Sanji is like in terms of like raw charisma, to be honest, like he's second probably only to Luffy. Like Luffy's got it for sure, but like
Luffy's
Sanji, like
charisma, yeah.
it's out of this
Excuse me,
world.
Frankie's Riz is pretty unmatchable in my opinion.
Yeah, I just but I don't know how many like princesses of the island Frankie has like brought over to our side because Sanji's got two at this point, at least two. Like and then Luffy, that's usually Luffy's thing, where he goes out and he's like, "All right, well, I met the princess. I don't know, we're helping them now, I guess." But Sanji's got
Yeah,
Pudding
I
and
guess.
Viola, like yeah, and so it's like that's how I'm counting it. Frankie definitely does have Riz. I'll give him that.
Sanji also throughout Egghead, of course, was helping Bonnie as well.
Oh,
Of
he
course,
was
not in any romantic way. Of course, I hate when
no,
people interpret it
no,
like
no,
that.
no, no,
He was
no.
just essentially being, the mentor, the big brother to her. Because the thing with Sanji is, if someone has a good relationship with their father, he will want to help them. He did it with Kinemon and Momo. Remember, the reason he helped Kinemon is because Kinemon said, "I'm here in Punk Hazard trying to find my son." And that just made Sanji snap because he thought, "Oh my god, this is a dad trying to find his son. I need to help him."
Oh, that's
And then we
right.
find out Bonnie and Kuma, the whole reason Bonnie is on Egghead is to try and help her dad and find her dad. Of course, Sanji's going to want to immediately help her
I
because he's very weak to the relationship between father and child because of his own experiences in that regard.
That's so I never clocked that with like I think I put it together well I think just with Bonnie and Kuma I always thought that it was just because like he was he's the knight like doing things chivalrously but I never clocked the Kinemon thing because you are absolutely right he was like I don't know who this talking head is but screw this guy let's just get out of here but then he mentioned that and he's like all right I guess we'll help him you're
Yeah, I got to
100%
help him.
right. Oh man. See, I'm learning more stuff about Sanji. I thought I was already a ride or die. My God. I also
Not
think
as
it's
much as me.
yeah, clearly you are the archive. That I do know. This is another thing. It's just going back to a man always believes a woman's lies. I really, 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 really love the scene with Sanji and Chopper when they go and warn Usopp about Agua Laguna. I love that so much because it's like a mom and son like going because they didn't tell
Yeah,
Zoro because Zoro's like the dad. It's like all right, don't tell dad. Let's just go warn Usopp
mm,
and then let's go back.
exactly.
You're
We're
like
getting McDonald's. Don't tell your
yeah,
father.
yeah, exactly. That's exact. I love that scene so much.
I absolutely love the whole Chopper because God, Chopper and Sanji are so they have such a like good relationship, and they were even some of the first to meet. Like Chopper and Sanji in Drum Island were the two first to meet and talk to each other. Nami was the first to meet, and then it was
Oh,
Sanji and Luffy. But
yeah.
I love the scene in Water 7 when Luffy and Usopp have their fight, and Luffy clearly regrets it, but Usopp, of course, he had to go through with it because this is a promise he made as a man, so he has to do it. And Chopper wants to go and help Usopp, and Sanji says to Chopper, excessive kindness. Like, you can't help him because excessive kindness only comes off as like pity. And he doesn't want our pity right now. But you can see that Sanji also wanted to help Usopp because even at the end, he did let Chopper go and just at least put some medicine and bandages there to help Usopp. So Sanji was hurting in that moment too, but he
Mm.
wanted to respect Usopp's choices in that moment because he totally understood where Usopp was coming from, and he just couldn't contain it. He had to go and be with Chopper, and he had to be like, "Oh, we'll just pretend, that we're just gonna be talking very loudly next to Usopp about the Aqua Laguna. We're definitely not telling him anything."
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
clearly wanted to help Usopp, and he was trying really hard not to because he understands that Usopp didn't want pity, but wholesomely and wholeheartedly, he just wanted to help Usopp.
Because that's the thing, and you mentioned this in your video too. Like kindness is the thing that binds like him and Chopper together. Like that's like the core of their character, and I would say Luffy as well. Like I think that
Yeah.
I feel like that's like I think that actually is like a prerequisite for like him like asking people to join his crew. Like, how kind are you? Because that was it with Zoro.
Mm.
That was it with I don't know if that was it with Nami, to be honest. Because like he immediately was like, you know where you're going?
It's
Great, because I don't. Come on, we
it's
gotta
here
get
and
out of here.
there. It's a mix of kindness and a mix of ambition.
Mm,
Especially like it's a mix of, and also because the reason he really liked Usopp, it was a combination of Usopp was the son of Yasopp and he knew Yasopp, but
mm,
also because Usopp loved his village so dearly that he was ready to die, even if his legs were shaking, like he couldn't even stand up. He
yeah.
still would do anything he could to protect it, and Luffy, really admired that. So it's kind of a mix of kindness, a mix of ambition, a mix of bravery. But Nami is also quite, because Nami was in Drum Island too, and Nami's also
Mm,
quite kind, but she's only kind to women and children. She's not very
yeah.
kind to men. Oda
Nah.
even said that, and it's very obvious.
Yeah.
So Nami has a kindness as well. It's just not for everyone, I suppose, in the same way it is
Yeah.
for Chopper and Sanji.
Yeah, no, I completely, and I think that's fair, to be honest. That's like part of Nami's like I love pretty much I can't think of any Nami gag that I hate. I love the Nami conquerors hockey gag. I love that
Yeah.
so much. Like it just
Oh my
makes
god.
oh, it's so funny. Like she needs to
Yeah,
be
the
able to beat
Jinbe's
them
shocked
up.
face.
Jinbei
Oh
was
god.
Jinbei is so funny at this part, like at this stage in the story, because he's coming into this like group of lunatics. He has no idea what's going on, and like
Mm,
everything is surprising him. Like it's oh my god, it's so crazy.
mm.
Like he
One of my
like
favorite, sorry,
oh no problem, please go
one of
ahead.
my favorite little gags that Jinbei has. This isn't a Sanji thing, but when he's helping Luffy after Ace has died, it's like so sad. And he
Hmm.
tries to sit there to like talk to Luffy, and Luffy just bites him.
Yeah.
And
And
Jinbei
Jinbei
waves him
just
off and says, "You
throws him.
little
He's like, you
bastard!"
little
Yeah,
yeah. Oh
I
my
think about it
god.
so much.
He would have no way of knowing that that would not be the last time that those lunatics would probably bite him and accost him as such. Like, he's
Mm,
signing up for a lot joining this crew.
yeah. I can't remember if it was anime only or if it was in the manga, but when Zoro and Sanji are fighting each other in Fishman Island, and Jinbei's like, "Why are they fighting each other? What's going on?"
Oh, I love that moment. Oh my gosh. I love Fishman Island is hilarious, man. Like the fact that, and then my favorite, like I think Jinbei is probably my favorite person in Fishman Island because he's like Luffy, like I just need you to listen to the past of human and fishman
Yeah.
relations. Luffy's like, I do not care. You better if you want to talk about
Yeah,
history, you better
no.
go find Robin. I do not care. I
He said,
truly do
"Who
not care.
asked?" I'm not
Yeah,
listening to you.
exactly. And Jinbei's like, what? Like Jinbei doesn't understand. He's like, I just like what? Oh my gosh! And then
And
their
Sanji saying, "Don't worry, we're here. We'll listen to you."
yeah, yeah. He went to sleep. That's the other thing. Like he started talking, and it's just like, okay, so he's asleep. So, but all right, go ahead, Jinbei. Just I guess finish.
Mm.
Oh my gosh! But to bring it back, this is like I'm very curious about this question. Do you think that Sanji has a canon romance in the series, or that will lead up to
Uh,
one rather?
he has flings, not flings. He's got like puppy crushes. So Sanji's a
Mm,
very puppy crush guy, you know?
yeah.
We do know that Nami is his number one.
Hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to be endgame or anything, but I am saying in terms of like who he prioritizes, we know Nami's number one. I think, I'm not sure if he said that exactly, but we know Robin implied that when they were talking about like Robin being okay, and she said, "I think I'll be fine in Egghead," and then she said something about Nami, and she said when it comes to Nami, there will always be someone there to protect her and to help her, and of course she's talking about Sanji.
Mm,
So, Nami, and also, of course, Nami was also there on Whole Cake Island because a lot of people were like, why wasn't Robin there? Why wasn't Robin there?
mm,
And of course, the answer to that is because Sanji and Nami have the longest relationship between them. And he was there to save her during Arlong Park, so she was coming back to save him during Whole Cake Island because all the Straw Hats were there for Water 7. Sanji was there on the train, and then that, evolved into the scene that happened against Black Maria. So that was essentially the evolution of the Water 7 train scene.
hmm.
But Nami was on Whole Cake Island because Nami and Sanji have always had a close relationship. And I think it's very sweet that Nami calls Sanji Kun. Like she says
Yeah,
Sanji Kun
always.
because
Yeah.
Sanji calls Nami San, and she's the only one he calls son because that's like a respect, like
Mm,
that she's his leader
Mm.
essentially, and she shows back that respect by calling him kun. So it's just a very sweet relationship they have. Although I don't think they're going to be endgame. But the reason I'm saying all this is because the amount of people that go, "Oh, he's going to be endgame with Pudding or Viola or whatever other girls he's like talked to and who have liked him." The only reason I just don't think that'll be the case is because I don't think Oda is going to have endgame relationships point blank. He's
Mm.
always functioned differently. I don't know why people compare him to like, oh, this shonen did it, this shonen did it. That's fine, but Oda's very blatantly stated he's doing his own thing, and
Yeah.
he's not going to like cave, to pressures to do other things that other things have done. But it's
Yeah.
also because when he was versing Black Maria, and Black Maria said to him, "Oh, like I'm gonna keep you as my little pet. You said you love me, didn't you?" Sanji said, "But I want to be a man who loves all the ladies, not just like one. Like he wants to serve all the ladies and love all the ladies." So I personally can't see him in any kind of endgame relationship because he looks like if he feels like he's just gonna be like Zeph, a
Yeah.
forever bachelor that's gonna run a restaurant and will be happy serving ladies as he is. I don't feel like he needs to have any kind of relationship by the end because I think he's happy as he is, so long as he has his crew, so long as he has his dream, his restaurant, serving girls. He's fine with doing that.
Yeah.
And then the reason I also brought up Nami is because again, Nami, like it's pretty much heavily implied that Nami is the number one that he listens to and that he protects. So it's like if he got in any other relationship romantically, where would that put Nami in regards to their relationship? And again, I'm not saying Nami, like I really have to specify, I'm not saying Nami and Sanji are romantic because a lot of people get really uppity about that. I'm not saying they're romantic. I'm just saying that clearly Sanji is Nami's dog, and he
Yeah.
always has been and he always will be. He even says to Zeus, "I was here first. I was her slave first."
This is
So
deeper
I
for
can't
him.
exactly. So like I can't see him getting into an endgame relationship simply because it feels like it just models a lot of their relationships around him if he does that, and I just
Mm.
don't think Oda will really do that.
I thought for sure you would have said Zoro. I thought for sure I was willing to bet everything you were gonna say.
Now listen,
Obviously, it's
I'm a
Zoro.
shipper, okay? I'm a shipper. I like my yaoi, but I'm also reasonable. So I know it's probably not gonna happen.
I would say that there's like, to be honest, there's more of like a build up for that than probably him ending up with like any woman in the series. That's what's hilarious.
Well, the best thing that could ever happen, in my opinion, is if either, transes Sanji's gender, turns Sanji into a woman, and then Zoro and Sanji get happily married as a
Yeah,
beautiful hetero
honestly.
couple.
Honestly, that would be. I think that would have to happen probably. It's like, because if Zoro became a woman, Sanji, that's like Sanji's like, all right, well, no, this is fine. Like, I
Yeah, I'm
think
on board.
immediately Sanji's like, he's not asking any questions. He's like, yeah, this is fine. I don't care.
This is fine. I'll deal with this.
God, it's so funny. I think that so then that's the other question. Do you think there's going to be any do you think there's any chance that Oda will ever have any sort of like romantic love like in the series?
He writes little here and there.
Mm.
Again, Sanji seems to get the most of it. Boa is there as well. But what I like about Oda's writing is when he writes these puppy crushes, because Boa is essentially a female Sanji.
That's what I'm
Scream
so
that to the
glad you
heavens,
said that.
right?
Yes,
She's and
exactly.
I love Boa Hancock, I should say. I love
Same.
her. I love her more than anything ever. And her crush on Luffy isn't unwarranted because she hated him. She
Yeah.
couldn't stand him at first.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we find out that what she went through with Celestial Dragons, how she
Mm.
found out Luffy punched a Celestial Dragon, how Luffy put the women of Amazon Lily above himself, how he thanked her for giving him the chance to save the women of Amazon Lily.
Mm.
Boa or Hancock, terrified of men, we know she's terrified of men specifically, and even women as well objectify Hancock. We know this
Mm.
because of how Amazon Lily girls treat her. Luffy is the only person she's ever met who actually sees her as a person, and Hancock having no relationships in terms of like normalcy outside of her sisters and outside of older figures, mentor figures like Shoki and Rayleigh. She has no idea how to handle that, so she's over emotional, she's over dramatic, and she thinks she's like, oh, I'm gonna marry Luffy, I'm gonna marry Luffy. I don't think she actually will. This is just, in my opinion, this is a
Oh,
very traumatized woman who
okay.
doesn't know how to function. And she thinks Luffy's just, friendship towards her. She doesn't recognize that. So she's immediately
No,
equating it with like soulmates and love because it's
that's
like
fair.
she's like a
Yeah.
high school girl essentially. She's
Yeah.
over the top and she's over dramatic and she's just got a huge puppy crush on this guy. Uh,
That's
and
fair.
Sanji's similar in that regard a lot of the time. Hancock and Sanji are so bad at regulating their emotions essentially
That's what
because of childhood trauma.
I was gonna say that's like that was one of the questions, like, do you think they're the same person, like same but different? Because like I clocked that and I was like, that's like, because I like both of them so much, and it's like if Sanji had the ability to like just choose one person, I think he would be like, but well, he would still belong in horny jail, but he would be able
Yeah.
to like still be like as locked in as Boa for sure, like that
Mm.
devoted for sure.
Yeah. I also think it's very funny that Hancock decided like the way to show her love towards Luffy is to cook for him. And that is not lost on me. And it's like she learned to cook because she wants to show Luffy she cares. And everyone has this idea that if Hancock met Nami and Robin, she'd be jealous of them. I totally disagree with that because she
Mm.
was raised on an island of women. She trusts women so much more than she trusts men. She's always angry at men, never at the women, only if they break her rules, of course. If anything, she'd be jealous of Sanji because he's the one cooking for Luffy. And that would piss her off. And imagine the gag of the most beautiful woman in the world hating Sanji, who's like the man who loves all women, because of getting in between her and Luffy. I think that'd be the
Oh,
funniest thing Oda could ever
I
do, and it
think you
makes
called
sense.
it. I think you called it. And it's going to be funny because she's going to be arguing with a stone statue. He's going to be stone immediately. It's not going to matter. I think absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah, I don't think there's a chance of. I mean, I know people really well. I personally, I'm just not a fan of endgame relationships and anything because I think having a
Really?
stone set ending, especially to something like One Piece, it can just ruin it for a lot of fans. Because it's like you can have, I don't know, let's say Luffy and Nami becomes a thing, right? You can have that
Mm,
happen. What about the people that like Nami with someone else or like Luffy with someone else? You have whole areas of audiences who like different people altogether,
yeah.
and you're ruining essentially the ending for a lot of different people. And Oda's very aware of that. He even stated when he wrote Romance between Sanji and Pudding in Whole Cake Island that they lost some fans through that. So he thought he made a mistake, which is so sad. It's so
That
sad that
is
he thinks he
sad.
made a mistake there.
What?
It
Oh
was very
no.
upsetting, and it's like he wasn't even writing them to be endgame. He
That's
was
what
writing them to show, Pudding grow. I know, right? I think it's upsetting. So it's like I think if anything, there'll be interpretations. I think it'll be implied. I think we might get stuff that's implied, like people maybe living together, looking like standing together, but I don't think we'll get anything in cement because Oda doesn't strike me as the type to want to do that. And every time he writes couples or relationships in One Piece, there's always a plot reason for it or a character reason for it.
yeah.
It's never just because. Like Shaki and Rayleigh, I was like, why are they married? What's going on here? And then we find out the reason is because Shaki's an Amazon Lily, a previous Amazon Lily Empress, and that's what connects Rayleigh to the island. And I
Hey,
was like, oh, of freaking course, that's why they have to be married. I cannot believe I didn't guess that Shaki was an Amazon Lily Empress.
that's goals. I cannot wait to be just an old depressed man at the bar and then just have my wife like constantly
An
come
old
up and check
widowed
over.
man
Yeah, 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 yeah.
with my
Just
wife.
with my wife. That's the goals though. Like I don't I think that everything I think that you are like that's everything that you said is bang on. I don't want to admit it cuz like I don't know. I truly enjoy like good like romantic like whenever a story has romance. I know that's not Otis thing, so I definitely believe that's probably not going to be like the thing, but I love a good love story, man. Like I just saw recently, it's like my favorite movie of all time is one I just saw recently. It's called Past Lives. It was amazing.
Mm,
It's so
mm.
romantic, and I've not given up hope that One Piece will have that, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
enjoy romance too. I enjoy romance when it makes sense, I suppose.
Right.
Because my
Yeah.
biggest peeve is a lot of writers will write, boy meets girl. It's just because boy meets girl, and there's no dynamic and there's no chemistry, and it really peeves me. But Oda's such a good writer. So when he writes Pudding liking Sanji or Sanji liking Pudding, or when he writes Hancock liking Luffy or Viola liking Sanji, Hiyori liking Zoro. Like it all makes sense and it doesn't just come out of nowhere because it's like you can understand why Pudding likes Sunji because she was heavily traumatized and no everyone thought she was a monster
Yeah.
until this guy just comes along and says, "Oh, what a beautiful eye." And she's never heard that in her
Yeah.
life. Of
Yeah.
course she's gonna fall for him. And then Hancock as well, everything I said before. Hiyori is such a funny one because I love that Oda established in Wano that women love strength. They're obsessed with strength. They think like not just women but men, they think strength in Wano is so attractive and very pleasing. And that's why Odin had a horde of bitches that were following him. I'll never forget in my life the hide your daughters, hide your wives. Odin's like running around.
And that's
That
transferred
was
over to Yamato too now. Like
exactly right.
that.
I love the cover art of Yamato heading off and all the girls behind him going, "Kya, oh
Yeah.
my god, bye Yamato." It was so funny.
The
So
Kya.
Hiyori, yeah, so Hiyori watching Zoro fight Killer, or whatever his name was, I forgot. Watching
I
Zoro fight Killer,
yeah.
and she's going, "Oh my god, how strong!" Of course, that makes sense because she's a Wano girl. So it's not that she's especially attracted to Zoro himself; it's the fact that he's incredibly strong, and she finds that attractive. So it's like,
Mm,
even that, like every time he writes these crushes or anything, I'm like. He's a good writer, so it doesn't upset me because I can understand why they like each other, and like
yeah.
it's cute. Like I think he always very cute in her crush with Zoro, but it makes me so sad because Zoro just didn't give her
No.
any time of
No, he
day.
just as a fellow hopeless romantic, just like Sanji, I want there to be like something for someone. And then
Mm,
also Oda's so sneaky with how he writes the relationships everybody has and even the orientations of everybody. A
mm.
character could be like gay or something and like it would be so
Yeah,
obvious,
with
but like
with Bonchan and Iva there as well.
yeah.
Like nothing's off the table.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Literally, nothing, literally, absolutely nothing is off the table. And that's another thing I
Except
think.
maybe Chopper.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Although
true.
Chopper fell in love with the beautiful deer mink. That was so cute.
That was really, really cute. I think
Chopper and that deer mink could be endgame.
that
That's
should,
possible.
I think that's more, that should be like everybody's like Chopper was, because Chopper's innocent enough that I feel like there's no complications there. Like that's just a done, like that's like a perfect love story right there.
Yeah.
Like that's done.
He just saw a beautiful reindeer go, my
And that's
goodness.
it. That's literally it. What do you think about in the SBS when they released like all of their jobs and stuff like that? Sanji's career would be a beauty salon worker. I think that's pretty like instead of like,
Mm,
but not a cook, just a beauty salon worker.
yeah. That SBS makes me laugh because that's when he also said Zoro would be a cop. And
Yeah,
everyone went, no.
yeah,
But what people
I get
don't
it.
know about that SBS is I'm pretty sure it was either fan picked or it was Oda saying, I want to pick things that no one will guess. Like he wanted to pick away from the obvious. So
Mm,
he made Zoro a cop because no one was gonna pick a cop.
I,
But
I don't know. I think that's I would have I would have picked a cop for him.
But when it comes to Sanji being a salon worker, that is such a well, it kind of feels out of left field, but it's also very cute because of course the salon workers use their hands as well. And I'd assume his salon work would just be helping women with their hair, making them look beautiful.
I was
And it's
about to
like, of
say
course Sanji would do that. Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's just like girl talk, like the whole day. I'm sure he's just girl talking it up, like having fun, talking him up to,
He's
like,
the God, how do I explain this? He's the salon worker that all the girls come to and they talk to, and Sanji thinks, "Oh, I'm so popular, they all like me." But all the girls are thinking, "It's nice to have a
yeah.
a gay man working on
Yeah.
my hair." And he has no idea that they're thinking this.
And is there any other like Sanji moment that you want to bring up, or any like Sanji character thing that you want to call attention to?
Well, of course, putting in Sanji being similar as well in regards to what they both went through. Because like Pudding is also like a female Sanji in a sense, even though she doesn't like all men or anything. Although Hancock didn't either.
Oh yeah.
Both of them had gone through childhoods of being made to feel useless or made to feel lesser because of how they were born.
Mm,
Sanji being born as a runt and Pudding being born with a third eye, so she's called ugly. And to Big Mum, a ugly daughter is a useless daughter unless they're strong, because the way the daughters work for Big Mum is you either get married off to be serving your purpose to the family and to the fleet, or you are a soldier. Those are the two ways you can only exist as a woman under Big Mum. So Pudding, of course, kind of had neither in that
mm,
regard. So she used her acting, her lies, her monstrous personality to try and be, worthy of Big Mum's affections.
Hmm.
And then, of course, Sanji just being authentically nice to her just made her
Folded.
crack.
She folded immediately. Like that's
Exactly, right? And then the way she acted with Sanji is exactly the way Sanji acts around a lot of women in terms of her going, "Don't look at me. Oh my God, I can't look at him. He's so like he's so sweet, he's so
That's
cute." And
what
she
I
just can't.
really liked about their dynamic. Finally, Sanji has it's got this. He's getting the same attention that he gives to like every woman in the world, and he like that didn't. I don't even think he noticed it. I think he was still just like which is crazy. Like he didn't go like, oh wow, you want to like like you actually like me, which I think but no, I guess it's obvious that he did notice it because he was like putting that's not really you. Like you're not really like whenever she was pretending to be like crazy,
Mm.
he could see like this isn't really you. But like he never like reacted the way that I thought he would with somebody like
Well, the
genuinely
thing,
liking him.
yeah, the thing that happens with Sanji is, and I've said this before, on tweets and everything, is Sanji does nothing but give. He serves everybody all the time, and we can interpret from his backstory this is because he was called useless and worthless. He basically was born having to prove himself. He wasn't born with any unconditional love or any just being able to exist.
Hmm.
So all Sanji knows is to give everything he has because that's how he thinks he has to prove himself and his worth. So when someone gives anything back, he can't seem to understand that because he can't seem to understand giving back to him because he thinks he's nothing essentially. So
Mm.
it's the same thing that happened with Viola. Viola clearly likes Sanji, and he didn't figure that out because he is very blind to the fact that people like him. Even Luffy. Luffy's the biggest one. He thought he could get Luffy to hate him and leave him. He was even surprised that Luffy came to Whole Cake Island. And it's like, how can you be surprised
I
about Luffy
yeah, I don't know
coming to
how
get
you
you?
guys challenged the whole world government to get back one
Exactly.
person. You don't think he's showing
And
up? Like
and he still couldn't fathom Luffy caring about him to that extent. That's how bad it is, right? His mental state's just stuffed. But the
that is
thing with
pretty
Pudding
bad.
as well is not only did she like him and he just couldn't figure that out, it's also because Sanji genuinely thought Pudding did not like him because of everything he'd heard through the window when she was saying, I hate him, he's useless, I don't want to marry a bum like him, you know? So
Mm.
he thought Pudding didn't like him and he wanted to, at that point, keep his distance from her. And it felt like he was trying to be respectable, but it was to the point that he then couldn't tell that Pudding did now like
Oh,
him. So
that's
he was just
true.
lost. He was lost with it. So Pudding was like, go there, so I don't have to see your face." And of course, she's saying that because she doesn't know how to manage it. But Sanji's thinking, "Oh, she doesn't like me. I should
He's
go there so I
so
don't show my
stupid. God,
face."
he's so stupid. Oh no, I forgot about that. That makes so much more sense. That scene did hurt him like a lot. Like actually, like staring through the window. I'll never forget like the face, like the
The
panel
face,
and the
yeah.
scene with his face is just like, oh my gosh, dude. So that makes a
Mm,
lot of sense. Holy shit.
yeah. And one of my, sorry, yes.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think it's hilarious that the not with Pudding but with Viola, he was for real about to just abandon the crew. Like as soon as he saw her dancing, he was like, "I guess I live here now." I
I'm
don't
happy
know.
to die.
Yeah,
He said, "I'm happy to be
he was
stuck."
ready. He was ready. Oh my gosh.
I also really, really love the scene where afterwards, he said goodbye to Luffy essentially, and Luffy said, "I'm not leaving." He said, I can't become Pirate King without you. Crazy thing, by the way. Absolute crazy thing for Luffy to say. To this day,
Oh
he still
my
hasn't
god.
said that to anyone else, which is insane.
That
I
might be
thought
my
he'd at
favorite
least say
moment,
that.
like in all of One Piece. I cried by like that was definitely like, oh my god, when he's like driving away and his head is in his hands, his family is laughing at him, and Luffy, the music soaring, and Luffy's just screaming.
Yeah,
Like you thought that was gonna be enough to turn me away? Like, are you stupid?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
It was
oh,
incredible. And I really like the moment where Sanji hesitates for a split second and Luffy sees it. And immediately Luffy knows, like, he's not telling the truth and I have to stay here and help him. Um,
mm-hmm,
But one of my favorite scenes ever is after that happens, Sanji's talking to Pudding, and she's like, "Oh my God, like I'm happy to be married to you," lying and everything.
mm,
But Sanji is seeing maybe he can do a little bit of good in a hopeless situation because he's in hell. Like Whole Cake Island was his hell. He was
mm-hmm.
trapped. He thought he was never getting out. He thought, "This is it. This is my life now," and he thought, "Well, if I'm in hell, I can make something good of it, and I can at least make Pudding happy." Like that was his thought. If I can't leave this place, I can at least make someone happy, which was Pudding. And then he's saying to Pudding, "You're my light, you're my savior." And as he's saying that, we keep cutting to Luffy fighting his life out to
Yeah.
stay there because he
Yeah.
wants to help Sanji. So the like paneling there of Sanji saying, "You are my savior," and then we get Luffy authentically, wholesomely like fighting to get Sanji back, and it's like, oh my god, Oda's just so good with that stuff because like that made me sob. Like
Yeah.
she's lying to you, she's lying to you, and your real savior's out there fighting for you.
Like the
It was
whole
such a good scene.
it is such a great scene. The Luffy's entire time there is just like the ending of Shrek 2, like I need a hero. Like that's
Literally, I
literally
need a hero.
it's literally just his entire he did not stop fighting. Even when he's in jail and like he was about to tear his arms off to get Sanji, dude. It's so good. Oh
Mm.
my gosh.
Another one. Oh yeah, he was gonna tear his arms off. I always say that because that's like so crazy. He was like, I don't need these. I don't need these arms.
That's such an
It feels
insane
similar.
thing.
Yeah, it feels similar to Zoro getting ready to cut his feet off in
Well, and he's just dumb. No, that's
Little
not the.
Garden.
That's the. He's just stupid. Like I don't. I think Luffy's thing is way more emotional because I think
It
at least
is. It
Luffy
is.
thought about it, but Zoro was like, "Oh well, I don't need my legs." Like he's just
I'll
dumb.
crawl. I'll crawl to them.
Yeah, it's like no, no, no. Oh my god.
But
Ho-
one of my other favorite things is I really, really like the relationship between Jinbe and Sanji. I think they're very funny, and a lot of people think they hate each other, or they think Sanji hates Jinbe, which is so bizarre because I always have to explain. Sanji is a character. He never says what he means
mhm.
because he tries to act tougher and he tries to act rougher than he actually is. We saw it with the Baratier. He'll like mouth off at anyone. He'll talk rudely in Skypiea, especially when he says to Usopp, um, "I'm not going to protect you because you're a man." And Usopp went, "What the hell?" And then what does he do? He specifically kicks Usopp out of the way to save him
Yeah.
specifically,
Mhm.
and nearly dies from Enel's blast because of that. And it's like he never says what he means. So whenever people take the scene of Sanji saying to Jinbe, "If you're really that sorry, cut your belly open, spill your guts out."
It's a
And I feel like
bluff.
that scene
Yeah.
gets, yeah, I feel like that scene gets so lost in translation because seppuku essentially is what he's saying. That
Mhm.
is so unserious and so over dramatic that when you translate it over to English and he's basically saying kill yourself, right? To us,
Yeah.
that is like, whoa, that's so serious. But from what I've been told from my Japanese friends, they're like, that was so ridiculous to us because that's the most over dramatic thing you could ever say
Yeah.
in terms of, yeah, cut your guts out.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was basically him having such a strong protection of Nami, and showing this through what he said to Jinbe that we know how much like Nami means to Sanji when he's telling Jinbe this, but at the same time, it's also not overly serious in what he's saying because there's a hint of like just too much behind it that it's like, is he for real about this? And then the second Nami, of course, says, I forgive you, Jinbe. Sanji's fine.
Yeah.
But everyone takes when Sanji says, "Well, I still haven't forgiven you." He's not serious.
No.
He's just joshing around. He's probably embarrassed on the fact that he told Jinbe to cut his guts out because that's crazy.
I never thought that he hated him, but I do love the gag that and now Jinbei's like especially with their bounties and everything like that. Like I just love their interactions with each other. Like I know he doesn't like I don't think Sanji hates anybody except maybe his
No.
dad, and even then I don't know. I
Even
really
then,
don't
yeah,
know.
one last thing about the Jinbe and Sanji thing. The thing that
Mhm.
makes me really laugh about Jinbe and Sanji is Sanji doesn't understand how to talk to men, behave with men, especially older men, because think about who raised him. Zeph
Yeah.
raised him like that. So Sanji's way of showing love and affection is tussling and playing around with men specifically because he doesn't know how to show proper affection to both women and men because he's just
Mhm.
absolutely messed up. So Sanji's trying to tussle and have like a play fight with Jinbe during Wano when Luffy was running to the rooftop and Sanji said, "No, stop, preserve your energy." And then Jinbe pops out of nowhere and helps. And obviously Sanji is relieved that Jinbe has come to help, but Sanji says, "I was going to do that. Don't hog my glory." And Jinbe went, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know."
That's what I love. Like Jinbei's
And
just oblivious. He's just trying to help. He's like, oh, I'm still trying to
exactly.
figure out what the dynamics are,
And
dude. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Jinbe is just so nice to Sanji. Sanji just feels like he doesn't know what to do about this. He's like, "Why are you so nice to me?"
Like you don't get it.
Like
Like
he's exactly.
Who would you say has like the best overall dynamic with Sanji?
My favorite duo, God, it's obvious, isn't it? It's obviously Zoro and Sanji. They are so funny. They are so funny.
They
There's so
are.
much there, but I love them so much because the parallels that like Oda's made, they're clearly two sides of the same coin. We have a overly emotional prince crybaby who, just wants to do nothing but help people. Amazaro does want to help people. He's like the opposite of that. He's not a crybaby. He's not over emotional. He works with his head instead of his heart, and then Sanji works with his heart instead of his head. Uh, Sometimes something else that Sanji works with, but I don't
Yeah.
want to say that. But it's like
Yeah.
he they're so good together because they fight and they fight and they fight and they tussle and tussle. And I always saw Zoro and Sanji as the head and the heart going at it, essentially. Because,
Mm,
that's the whole, metaphor, right? Like, do you listen to your
mm,
heart? Do you listen to your head? Which is why it's so great seeing scenes like Water 7, where at the end of Water 7, not even just at the end, it was also all the way through. But that at the end of Water 7, when they're like, Usopp, has to apologize if he wants to come back to the crew, the only two members that were agreeing with that and saying that were Zoro and Sanji at the time. Because everyone thought Zoro was being too harsh and too cruel until Sanji even disagreed with Nami. Do you know how
mm.
goddamn rare that is? That Nami was like, "Why are you being so cruel?" And Sanji said, "Unfortunately, he's right.
I
We
think that's the
have
only
to."
time it's ever happened. I don't know. That's the only time
Yeah,
I can
it
remember.
hardly ever happens. So it's like every time Zoro and Sanji are in sync, it's so satisfying because you know how like just powerful they are together and how well they work together. And they tussle and tussle and tussle, and then the second they start working together, it's just so good to see because you see how I don't want to say compatible because I don't mean romantically, but you just see how they are like literally two sides of the same coin and how they basically like breathe together. And one of my
Yeah.
favorite scenes ever is in Wano, of course, when Marco is fighting King and Queen or helping Sanji. And then Zoro gets back up, and we know Zoro's getting back up, and Sanji immediately calms down. Immediately. And
Mm,
Marco says, the stars are going to take the stage. And then they jump forward, and it's so satisfying because you're like, this is it. These are the two that like they will tear the house down
yeah.
the second you have those two showing up and they're not fighting, you're fucked. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Run because you're screwed because you know they're going to take you out effortlessly if they're breathing together. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite scenes as well after that is when Sanji has a literal slight moment against Queen and he steps out of place just for like one toe out of place and Zoro immediately what's going on? Like, what's happening over here? Because that's when Sanji's mutating. Zoro's
Mm,
the only one that picked that up, that something was wrong. And Sanji said,
mm,
it's nothing, it's nothing. But obviously, Zoro could pick that up because he
mm.
knows how Sanji fights and he knows how he moves. The same can be said for Zoro and Sanji towards Zoro. So it's like they clearly know each other like the back of their hand. They just
Yeah.
fight and tussle because they're immature and they can't just say, hey, I care about you. Actually, I hope you don't die. Instead of Zoro saying, "Hey, I hope you don't die," it's, "Oh, great, I can kill you." Instead, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
which is such a like that he called Zoro to be like. First of all, he slipped that mini Dindin Mushi like Zoro just pull that out
under
and be
his
like,
Haramaki?
when did I
How'd
get
he get it
this?
under there?
Like what
Yeah, literally.
like what that I would remember. I was like, wow. So it's such an emotional scene. It took me a while to realize that, but like they kind of spent all of Wano like basically together, like to be honest, or at least
Yeah.
all of Onigashima because like. But yeah, like he trusted Zoro to kill him if he became somebody
Mm.
that he didn't want to. Zoro doesn't even know what's happening. Zoro's like, I don't get it, but sure. Like, and I always thought that I didn't even I wanted to at first kind of take that not as a joke, but like obviously Zoro would do it. Zoro's not going to think too much about it. But now I feel differently. I feel like Zoro did like because when he wakes back up afterward, that's the first thing he remembers. Is like, wait a minute, didn't you ask me to kill you? Like, what's going on? So I think he really did think like, okay, something really deep is going on, but
Mm.
like whatever it is, if he does ever become somebody different than who he is, yeah, I'll do it. Like
Mm.
like, and it
Mm.
just reminds me of Thriller Bark too. Whenever Sanji, that's such a good moment between them both because Sanji was
Yeah.
trying to like sacrifice himself, and Zoro was like, no, this is my job. Like you
Yeah.
gotta
I'll
like,
never forget Sanji saying to Zoro, "What about your dream?" As in, like, Sanji's
Yeah.
putting Zoro's dream
Over his
above his
own.
own. Like,
Yes.
exactly, Zoro's dream means so much to him because he saw the Mihawk fight. That was very important to him. He saw Zoro
Yeah.
throwing his life on the line for his dream, and he wants Zoro to achieve something that, like, motivated him to go out to the seas, right? And chase his own.
Ah.
So he'd rather Zoro live and pursue his dream than his own, which is so messed up.
I
Like,
never
that's a
I never
lot.
put the Mihawk thing that you are right, he did, and that that makes it so much sadder. You remember when he wakes up and he wakes up like almost in a cold sweat, like,
Yeah.
where's Zoro? And he
Where
like
is he? Where
takes
is
off
he? Yeah.
running, like, oh my god. Oh man. And like he still watches him all the way to Sabaody when they're like fighting
Mm.
Kizaru. Like they do, it is compatibility. Like they truly have like this compatibility that like I love the way that Oda writes like the wings of the Pirate King.
Yeah.
I don't think I want anything different from him either. I think that it's going in a really good like direction, and I just like that's why I said like it might be a joke, but I really think the Zosan has the most buildup. To be honest, like even if it's ambiguous, like let's say they end
A
up on the
slow
same
burn.
island, it is. It's a slow burn that means the most. Like it's like I would believe that if they end up on the same island, like yeah, it's not like Oda's not gonna say yeah they're fucking, but like they end up on the same island for some reason.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, like, that's in an SBS. Like yeah, they're
Oda,
fucking.
answer the question. Are they fucking?
Oh my gosh, that's so. I do want to know that. So just like if like gun to your head, if you have to ship, who are you shipping?
Yeah, it's obviously Zoro and Sanji.
Okay, I just wanted to make
It
sure.
is.
I thought so. Yeah.
They're just good fun. I can't help it. I really, really like them. Uh, but I always had not. I guess it's a theory. I have to start saying theory more. Everyone says theory in this community, and I need to start getting on that. But I had the way I interpreted the scene with Zoro getting the Den Mushi out of his Haramaki. I assumed what happened there is because Sanji had to save Zoro after the rooftop scene, and Zoro was just taken out. You know, he was half dead. My assumption was while Sanji was bandaging him and cleaning him up, he put the Den Mushi in there because he was like, "Oh my god, he's about to be dead on the ground, and if anything happens, I need to find a way to be able to know and be able to get to him or something." At least that's how I interpreted that, because it's like, how in the world did you slip that under his Haramaki and he didn't notice?
Yeah.
Like, that's some insane work.
That's
Like,
yeah.
under the Haramaki?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like, it had to be when he was bandaging him up and he was worried about him. But the thing with the death pack scene is, that was also really, I'll never forget, I was on Twitter talking about it and someone was like, saying like, oh, they used the death pack scene as a way to show, see, Zoro just wants to kill him. And I remember saying to them, if you were like on your deathbed and someone had to pull the plug, would you rather a loved one do it or an enemy that you hate do it?
Yeah, that doesn't
You'd
make
rather
sense
a
to
loved
me.
one pull the plug, right? You don't want someone you hate to kill you.
I feel like there's a lot of people that don't. Well, this is why the Sanji discourse on Twitter, we need more like defenders of Sanji and just truth. I won't even call it defenders of Sanji, just defenders of truth, because there's a lot of takes. Like, I don't get that take at all, to be honest. Like, obviously they do not hate each other. Like if anything, they love. In fact, Oda's come out and said it, like, besides Luffy, like they are each other's best friends. Like I'm pretty sure he's like come out and said that.
I think he said like, are they best friends? Who knows? Because he's such a shit taker.
Yeah, he is. He really is. I love how he answers like, there's an SBS where they're like, Oda, please, which one is stronger, Zoro or Sanji? And then he just like goes on this long
dick fight.
Yeah, like literally just this long like dick waving competition of like, well, Zoro beat Mr. One, who's stronger than Bon Clay, isn't he? And it's like, Oda, please just answer the question.
It was so funny. But when it comes to the death pack thing, and it's like I fully think Zoro just can't go through with that, because he's strong on the surface, Zoro, right? He'll say what he means. Sometimes he'll say what he means. Sometimes he reflects. Not reflects. He does reflect. Like the recent Vegapunk Egghead scene. Oh my god, that was crazy stuff.
That was insane.
He's
a
complicated man.
I did not see that coming. I was like, whoa. I was like, and the fact that nobody gave him shit for, I think the only person, I think it was Jinbei. Jinbei was like, are we just gonna let him say,
He
like,
said,
that's
whoa,
crazy.
calm down.
Yeah, that
But
was
I think,
me.
well, the reason for that is because, like, I mean, the way I see it is Zoro's very harsh, especially on himself. Sanji even says it. During Punk Hazard, Zoro yells at Luffy, get your head in the game. You know, this is the new world. We have to ship up or we'll die. And at that moment, I remember thinking, what the hell's going on? But Sanji smiles and says, oh, he's so harsh on himself. And Luffy smiles as well and says, yeah, sorry. So we can interpret that as Zoro's freaking out and he's having a moment where he's thinking, oh my God, can I like be good enough here? Because Zoro's very worried about being strong enough, very worried about that. And it seems Sanji and Luffy have both realized that Zoro's like essentially saying, I'm freaking out. Please like reassure me essentially. And they're both going, okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
We'll fight beside you. And then the same thing happened in Zoro as well. When Zoro found out Sanji had vanished, he was
That
like,
was so
who
funny.
cares? Who
Yeah.
needs him? I hate him. And he was even fighting with Nami. He was fighting with Luffy. He was like, get rid of him. We don't need him. And he was being so cruel. And I love the scene in the next chapter where we find out who Sanji is and the Vinsmoke name and everything. And Luffy runs over to Zoro and says, you're worried about
Yeah, he was listening outside. Like he didn't even.
Yeah.
He was just listening outside. And Luffy runs out. He's like, "You were listening to that?" He's like, "Yeah." So what are we gonna do? He's
Yeah.
like, and Luffy just laughs like, "You're worried about him, aren't you?" He's like, "Don't be stupid."
You're worried about him, right? And I
Yeah.
always thought that was funny because I think what happened there was Zoro in the previous scene. I think Oda was trying to show that when Zoro's upset, he lashes out. He always does that. When Zoro feels upset, he can't be normal about it because he's got problems. So instead, he just acts angry. He's a dickhead when he's upset. He always
Yeah.
is. So I feel like Oda thought we'd figure that out, and then we didn't. And then he added the scene of Luffy saying, "You're worried,"
Yeah.
because he was like, "Please understand what's going on here." But the same thing happened with Vegapunk and Egghead because Sanji, at the same time, in Egghead, said to Zoro, "He's a liability. Like if he has to fight Lucci off, or he's a liability essentially." So I'm pretty sure what happened with Egghead was Zoro feels like shit. He wasn't where he needed to be. He didn't help to save Vegapunk because again he wasn't there. He had to be saved by Jinbei. He didn't actually beat Lucci
No,
off.
I didn't.
That was Jinbei.
Yeah.
So I feel like Zoro feels like shit and he feels upset for what happened. And instead he's going, oh God, Luffy shouldn't be crying about that. And it's like, I feel like if Sanji was there in that moment, Sanji would like tell him like it's okay. Because I think he just felt like shit for what happened at Egghead. And he just again he tends to do that. He's just a dickhead. When
He
he's hard
is.
on himself, he's such a dickhead.
He is. That was something that I just didn't like. I mean, I guess I could. I guess my subconscious might have picked that up. But when that happened, that scene where he was like, "Yeah, that's stupid. He shouldn't be crying over that." I was like, "Dude, like he was like," because he says specifically, his words are just extra harsh for no reason. She shouldn't be crying. He's an
Yeah.
emperor of the sea. It's pathetic. He should be crying over
He's like
one
over
old man.
that old man.
Yeah, I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, so it's like I think he clearly just feels bad. But when it comes to the death pact, as I was saying, like so Zoro says what he means a lot of the time, or he reflects because he's feeling upset. The thing with Zoro is, and the reason I really want the death pact to go through is because Zoro's whole thing is keeping his word, keeping his promise. That's why he became a Straw Hat, because he kept his promise to Luffy, and then that evolved into something more. But then his other thing is protecting and saving his crew. That's very important to him. He will rather throw himself in the line of fire than let a crewmate get hurt. He did it with Syrup Village as well, when Usopp went to fight the cat boys off, the Kuro cat boys off, and Zoro jumped in front of Usopp's bullet or whatever it was, slingshot like ammo, and Zoro yelled, "What are you doing? Are you trying to get killed?" And they essentially explained to us if Usopp involved himself in the fight, Zoro wouldn't be able to keep protecting them because then they'd aim for Usopp. So Zoro has always wanted to protect his crew, Sanji as well during Thriller Bark, Luffy during Thriller Bark, in Wano in general. Like he's always wanted to protect his crew. So this death pact, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He either keeps his word, he keeps his promise, and he kills Sanji if he mutates, or he kills like a crewmate. So what's he supposed to do? These are two things that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to break a promise, but he doesn't want a crewmate to die because death is very scary because of what happened to Kuina. He doesn't want his loved ones to die.
Yeah.
So I really want to see what happens because I just don't think he'd be able to go through with it. I think he thinks he can, but
Yeah.
I think when he has to, push comes to shove, I think he might just have a moment of, oh shit.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
And then just like that would bring him like, and then he would be extra, that would cause him to be extra hard on himself and then like apologize to Luffy for not being able to kill Sanji. And then Luffy be like, I never told you to do that anyway. Like, I don't want that to happen.
I never told you to do
like,
that.
why stop it? Thank you for not doing that, I guess. Like,
And that's the other thing. If Zoro killed Sanji, what would Luffy's reaction be? he
Oh,
wouldn't
he'd be
have it.
hot. He
Like
would be
he wouldn't
so
have it.
hot.
Even if Zoro said it was a promise, Luffy would say, "I don't care. Why did you
Literally,
kill her?"
he would not. He would not care. I love how like mature Luffy is, and then immature, and like so like he has like these things that like that you can say for sure. Like he's a very consistent character up to the point to where you can understand that he's gonna crash out for something, and that would totally be something he'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you made a promise. Why did you do that? Like that's Sanji. That's so stupid.
Yeah, ever since Ace's death, it's quite obvious to me that if Luffy ever lost a Straw Hat, he'd just be done.
He would
I
a
think
hundred
he
percent.
his
Yeah.
his dreams would be crushed, his ambitions would be out the window because that's that's his family. So it's like any Straw Hat if and that's why everyone going a Straw Hat will die, a Straw Hat will die. I feel like a lot of people might not think in the same way I do in a sense that if a Straw Hat died, that would be the end of Luffy. I
I
don't think he'd
agree.
be able to keep going anymore
I
because
think
he's
yeah.
lost one of his family.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I would want the fake out, but the problem with us and the fake out is that it's Oda, right? So even if there is a fake out that happens, like let's say Usopp, it looks like he's dead. I don't think we're gonna believe that for so long. I think it would benefit. I would want to see like if that situation happened, I would want to see Luffy believe that it happened, and then like
Mm,
what the consequences of that. So for instance, he wouldn't be able to turn Gear 5 because he'd be distraught. I think, like you said, I think his
yeah,
will to fight would just be done. At least
yeah.
until like Usopp or whoever like is whoever we think is dead like reveals like hey they're still alive. But I completely agree if it's true like someone is actually gone, then he's done. That's why I think that if anybody does go, I'm scared for Garp, to be honest. I'm kind of scared for Garp because I think Luffy could take that. I really do. I think Luffy would be fine,
Kill that
honestly.
man. That's what I
Literally.
say. Get rid of him.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, because I want them to have a talk after everything that happened to Marineford. They won't because Luffy's like, I don't care. Like, I get it. You're a Marine, whatever. Like, I'm a pirate. Like, Luffy's
Yeah.
not someone that would hold a grudge, but I am. I am, and I'm just like, well, now how does it feel, Garp? Now how does it feel? You know, you're in the same
Exactly.
position.
I love the scene when Kobe and Marineford is like, oh God, I have to fight Luffy. What am I gonna do? What's gonna happen? And Luffy just fucking punches him.
Punches him
He's
in the
not even
and
thinking.
he doesn't even give him the time. He was like, "Is that Kobe? Kobe, get out of the way!" And he starts trying to punch. He tells him once, like, "Kobe, move," and he doesn't
Yeah,
move.
move.
Luffy
Get
punches
punched.
him, and he just keeps running. Like Luffy doesn't turn around. He's just punches. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, respect. Like that's, and I feel like Kobe's like, you know what? That's what happens when I'm, like, and you know what Kobe did? He trained. He was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna try to fight him again, I cannot try to fight him like I am now.
He said, understandable, have a nice day.
He did. I get it. I get it. That's fine.
But yeah, the Death Pact is something I'm so looking forward to. Sanji's mutation. I am such a firm believer. Such a firm believer the mutation's happening because so many people
Really?
have been tricked, in my opinion. They've been tricked because his eyebrow keeps switching these days. He feels a bit more aggressive these days.
Oh
He took a
no.
Seraphim punch, an S Shark punch, and I know the power scale is blah blah blah. Ignore them for a second. We were told that the Seraphim are the strongest things in the world, the strongest soldiers to exist. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And Sanji just stood there and just took a punch like it was nothing. And it's like, there's no way there can't be consequences to this. There's no way he can just happily exist like this with nothing going wrong. That's a
Oh
bit
no.
extreme. If he can just be like this. Like, that's crazy. And what did he do? He kicked through 3 elders, including getting chomped by one of them, and he just stood back up. Something's
Oh
off. You
no.
know what I mean?
No. No. I never. No. That makes too much sense. No, God. I'm not ready for that. That's so crazy. If that does happen. Wow. No, I think because the signs are there, there can't be any. Yeah, that would be
That's it, right?
insane.
They're all there, and I think everyone fell for the red herring because what happened is Sanji went, "Oh God, I don't want to be Germa anymore," and he destroyed his suit. The amount of people that said to me, "Nah, he won't mutate anymore because he destroyed the suit,"
Yeah.
so many people thought that, and I was like, "That's a red herring if I've
Yeah.
ever seen one."
That doesn't
Oda
really
wants
make
you to
sense.
think it's
Yeah.
done. Exactly, right? Because it's in his blood now. He's
Yeah.
mutating, and it's like there's no way he's gonna get out of this unscathed. something is going on.
Oh no, I don't know. What I worry about most isn't really, honestly, Zoro's conflict with that. I'm scared, like if he really loses himself to the point to where he lets, God forbid, he hits a woman, Sanji's going to kill himself as
Yeah,
soon as he comes back.
exactly.
Like it's
He's
over
gonna kill himself.
immediately. That's what I'm scared of. Like he genuinely, like I think it would be a calm decision too. Like, well, there's no way I could keep living knowing that I did that. So, I mean, it's
Well,
up
what
for
scares
me.
me is in Wano, he had a moment where he blacked out, and a lot of people seem to forget about that. Remember, he
Mm-hmm.
was like stumbling around in like a daze,
And he thought that
and
he
then he
hit
saw,
that
yeah,
the
he
the
saw Some,
Some, yeah.
and she was crying and she was terrified, and he went, "Oh my God, I hit her, I hit her." He nearly tipped off the edge there,
He truly
very
did.
nearly tipped off the edge, and it's like the fact that it's been established, Sanji is having some moments where he's blacking out. Apparently, he can't remember what's going on, meaning I'm fully expecting in the future there's going to maybe be a moment where Sanji blacks out or doesn't even black out, maybe, and he hits a woman. Maybe Nami, maybe Robin. And that would be the end. I'm fully expecting his tipping off the edge to be hitting a woman. And that's it for him. You know how so many people are like, oh, he should just fight women. He should just fight women. I feel like Oda is going to twist that and go, oh, okay, you want him to fight women? Guess what? Now he's
Oh,
mutated and he's lost himself.
oh no. I'm so scared of what that would mean. Like, I don't think, oh my God. Because, like, do you think there's a way for him to, like, I guess forgive himself or, like, come back from that, like, at all? Because I know, like, he would have to, like you said, there's no way that this would be the end of a Straw Hat. But what would be the way that he would come back from something like that?
Whoever he hits, and again, I'd say honestly, I think Nami would be the one that would be such a good story, like device to make him accidentally or actively hit Nami if he's mutating, because that
Mm,
would be the end, right?
yeah.
Nami's like his number one.
Mm,
It would have to be Nami forgiving him in the same way that Nami was forgiven by the Straw Hats for what she did during Arlong Park. I think Nami would just have to forgive him, and essentially, we know that this wasn't his doing. So I think he'd feel like shit for it, don't get me wrong, but like there's ways out of that. But he basically, I think the way to save Sanji is one big group hug. I think it's just what
yeah.
he
Yeah.
needs.
I honestly, I hope so. And then honestly, including Zoro. Because Zoro, like, this is a good way, like, for the story to be like, because Zoro, like, I agree. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So him and Sanji are going to be feeling pretty bad about
Yeah.
themselves. Like, because if Zoro would lock in, maybe he wouldn't, like, if they could make a situation where if Zoro locked in and actually did it, maybe he wouldn't have hit Nami. That could even be something that Sanji blames him for a second for. But at the same time, it's like, no, I mean, this is all on me for sure. So maybe a group hug fixes it. I'm just scared because there, like, I worry that his self-hatred is not gone, like he
Oh, it's
like
not. It's not gone. It's 100% not gone.
yeah, like, so if he does that, the self-hatred, because it's one thing to hate yourself for your past. To hate yourself for something you just did is
Yeah.
like, oh, it's tough. That is tough work.
I thought Wano was fantastic with developing Sanji's character because on one hand he called for help from Robin,
Hmm.
showing that he's finally accepting help and he's finally thinking he's worth the help from
Hmm.
his loved ones. On the other hand, when he found out he was mutating, instead of like thinking like, what am I going to do? His first thought was, Luffy, what would you prefer? This is himself and his life, right? And immediately he
Hmm.
thinks, well, what does Luffy want? And it's like, Sanji, you're so close, but you keep
You
stepping
keep,
back. You keep thinking you need to be something for someone else, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Oh my
And he's
gosh.
decided death. He's decided, God, it's so sad because he's decided Luffy wants me like this. He wants me emotional. He wants me the way I am. That's how he saved me in Whole Cake Island. So I'd rather die. But of course, that's not true. Luffy will have Sanji in any way. Even if he mutates, Luffy would rather have Sanji alive than dead. We know this.
Yeah.
Luffy's Luffy. So
Yeah.
it's like Sanji's thinking, I need to be this specific person to be able to exist for Luffy, while
Ah,
Luffy would be just live, just exist. Like,
just live.
it's so sad.
Oh my God, that is so sad. Luffy's just like, It's so funny because like Sanji's gonna keep like if this happens, Sanji's gonna make some more decisions without Luffy knowing, and Luffy's just gonna come to it and be like, "Who told you to do that? I didn't. Like, don't like you don't like you're thinking way too much about this. Like, just be cool." And with Luffy, it's
Yeah.
just so simple, but Sanji is just like actively overcomplicating it because the simple
Yeah.
concept of people love me for who I am. It's not there's no way he, at least for right now in the story, he does not grasp that like at
Yeah.
all.
Well, the funniest thing is we know this from the Baratier because he still hasn't learned his lesson because Sanji has said like, if I can't give my life for like Zeph and the Baratier, what use am I, essentially? And then of course Luffy grabs Sanji and says, sacrificing your life is no way to repay someone who saved you. Sacrificing yourself is no way to repay your savior because Luffy believes living the way you want is the way to repay your savior. Oda, in general, believes that.
Mm-hmm.
Law was even the same thing during Dressrosa from Sengoku, when Law was trying to figure out why did Kodazon save me? Why am I alive? Blah blah blah. And then Sengoku says to him, "Oh my God, he just loved you. He just loved you." And he said, "As long as you live the way you want, Kodazon would be happy." And that's exactly what Oda believes. So that's what Sanji still hasn't figured out. He's still sacrificing himself for people. So if Sanji said to Luffy, "Oh, I've decided because like if I mutate because you wouldn't like that, I'll just die," Luffy would be like, "What? Like, did you learn
Yeah.
nothing?"
Yeah, Luffy would be like, yeah, that's exactly how he would be like, I don't understand why like how many times we have to teach you this lesson, old
Yeah,
man?
how many
Like
times you have to teach you this lesson? But I really like that aspect because a lot of people will say like it's not development, but in my opinion, what I'm seeing is this is a very traumatized person,
yeah, it's the
similar with every other Straw
persistency.
Hat.
Yeah, like
Exactly. Whole Cake Island just happened in the span of One Piece's world, right? Like that
mhm,
essentially just happened. Sanji is going to have to take a long time to learn to actually love himself. It doesn't happen overnight, right?
yeah.
And he has to get there first. So
And
I'm excited to see Sanji he has worse, with or without his mutation. Because my biggest thing is even if he does mutate, the problem is that is still Sanji. That's still his blood. That's still part of who he is. And he's kind of ignoring that aspect and no, I can only be this person. And I think that's what Luffy would say. Like, even the bad parts, that's still you. Any kind of person, even the bad parts a person has, that's still them.
yeah.
And that's what unconditional love is, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, that's what it feels like the direction it's heading to me. But I also do think that if Sanji does mutate and he does like hit a woman or something or anything happens in terms of the Death Pact
Yeah.
with Zoro, I think Zoro would probably think that was his fault because I was
Yeah.
rereading the East Blue arc for my East Blue video, and there's a moment where they think Nami's killed Usopp, and Zoro is like freaking out because like Nami says, "Yeah, I killed Usopp," and that's when Zoro jumps forward to try and kill Nami. Not kill Nami, but hit her.
Yeah.
And then Sanji says to Zoro, "Do you really think she killed Usopp?" And Zoro says, "Well, I said that she was like faking it essentially, and that she actually did care. So maybe she killed Usopp to prove me wrong." And I realized in that moment, oh holy shit, Zoro thinks he's the reason that Nami killed Usopp because
That's
he
such a
basically called her bluff.
roundabout like way to that's such a roundabout way to like only arrive at the same conclusion of blaming himself. Like he found a way to blame himself and then that convinced him that Usopp might actually be dead because it's his fault. Like he just wanted to blame himself for
Exactly.
something. Oh my
So he
gosh.
blamed himself because he thought I called Nami's bluff and that made her angrier, and now she's
Yes.
killed Usopp to prove herself, and that was my fault.
Yeah,
So I
it's
feel like if Sanji mutates and he hits a woman before Zoro notices, I feel like Zoro will think, "Oh fuck, it's my fault.
I
I
didn't
let
kill
that
him at
happen.
Wano. Like that's what he's gonna think. I should have killed him when I woke up at
I
Wano.
should have
This is
killed him at
crazy.
one. I should have killed him when I had the chance."
Oh no, yeah, but he would really feel bad about that. Like that's gonna like that, that's what I'm saying. Like they're both gonna be like, I think that's gonna be the opportunity for both of them to like actually genuinely like, who knows if they will do it, but they should tell each other like how they feel for God's sake, like actually bond.
Literally,
Like
I care about you.
yeah, like this is such a, I really think that would be enough to heal him, to be honest. Like another like stern like stoic figure in his life that like is like that they only show each other how they feel through tough love. Like I think if they both just like, all right, for real, like, hey, I love you, dog. Like, just like,
Literally.
like, if that's
For real,
it.
for real.
That's like, for real, just like, that's it. Like, you know, everybody else will hug him because he knows that everybody else, well, I don't, man, I guess I don't know if he knows that everybody loves him, but he at least, after Whole Cake Island, he's made progress for sure. Even then, to be honest, I really think he just like, I don't know, because I don't know if the concept that everybody loves him really stuck in. I think he just realized like Luffy's not leaving unless I go. Like I think that's what he realized more than anything.
Mm, exactly. I don't know. I think if there was just a moment of Zoro saying, "I don't want you to die," I think that would be
That's enough. Yeah,
groundbreaking.
that would actually be
That's enough.
groundbreaking.
Just, I don't want you to die. Can you imagine? But I think one of my favorite things is the theory that all the Zoro Sanji girlies have, right? Is,
Hmm.
and this is honestly, this is gay as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's basically Zoro has never used Sanji's name in the span of all of One Piece. He's never used Sanji's name, and Oda's even said that and acknowledged that. He's like, yeah, I actively don't make Zoro use Sanji's name. And he's the only one who treats like him like each other like that. So Zoro calls everyone else by their name. Sanji even calls Zoro by Zoro's name. Zoro has never, for some reason, ever called Sanji's name because he's just, he's playing with him. He's a dickhead. He's teasing. So all the girlies out there are thinking, if Sanji does mutate, is Zoro saying his name going to bring him back?
That'd be
Because he's never
romantic as
said his
hell.
name before. Yeah, that's gay as hell, though, right?
That's romantic. Hey, I'm not again. I think again, if that does happen, I swear I'm just like, that's just fuel to the fire. That's it. That's literally like, I can't. There's no way. It's like, that's probably one of the most overtly romantic things that could ever happen. I don't know. That's just to me, but I could see. I really could because he's
That's
never
Pride
said
and
it.
Prejudice. Yeah, Pride
Yeah.
and Prejudice in the rain type of shit. I love you most ardently.
But he's never said it. That's true. There's that dishwashing scene where Sanji is calling Zoro. I think that, like, literally just because you said that, I think what happened was Zoro refused to ever say Sanji, so Sanji picked up on that and he's like, all right, fine, Marimo, fine. You don't want to call me by my name. I won't say your name either then.
Well, it's similar to how Zeph and Sanji didn't use each other's names either. Like, Zeph would always call Sanji like Little Eggplant, and Sanji would always call Zeph, old man, old geezer. Old geezer's so funny. I love that one. So it's just a similar relationship that Sanji had with Zeph. Zoro and Sanji are just essentially like this is basically a reformed version of Zeph and Sanji's relationship, except not between a dad and son, obviously, because it's just the way Sanji has learnt how to show his care for someone that he really cares about, especially a man.
Oh,
He
that's what
just
I'm
doesn't
saying.
know how to do
Isn't
that
that just
otherwise.
what makes it more romantic to me? That's what I'm saying. I can't stop thinking about it from that lens because, and Oda also said it, like, yeah, women don't like him. Men love him, though. I don't know. That's
Yeah,
like,
man.
like, I don't know. Oda's like, I don't know what that's about, but, you're free to assume what you
It
want, I
was so
guess.
funny. I love the scene in Punk Hazard where the the G5 guys are like, "Oh my god, like even though you're a man, I'm falling for you." And Sanji's like, "What the fuck, men like him?"
Men love him.
The only
I don't
guy
know.
he was really, really nice to, and this always makes me giggle. Gin was there, of course, but Gin's different because they had then had to fight each other. But
Yeah.
the only man I remember recalling, okay, they're really sweet on each other, was Pedro. Pedro
That's
and
what I
Sanji
was
were like
thinking
very,
about.
very sweet on
For
each
no
other, and I was
reason,
like, this
too.
is
Like,
yeah.
literally for no reason. Like, they just were, like, really, like, Sanji never teased him. Sanji never, like, as soon as, like, he, like, met Pedro and was, like, and then on Whole Cake Island, like, they were just buddies, and it was, like, yeah, sweet is the word. Like, that is true. That's who I was thinking about, too. Like, they were bros. God, he
Yeah, I
shouldn't
mean, I
have, they
assume
just
what
shouldn't have.
happened there is because when he saved Zoro, when they all saved Zoro, the Sanji, Chopper, Brook, and Nami, they were feeding everyone, and they had that cute little scene where Sanji was like to Pedro, "Here, eat up," and Pedro said, "No, no, no, save that for the rest of them. I don't need to eat unless because everyone else needs to eat." Of course, that's gonna get Sanji in the heart,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
true.
exactly what he's like. So he clearly saw what a good man Pedro was through that, and immediately he was like, "I can't make fun of this guy. He's just a good guy."
Yeah, well, that's what I like about Sanji probably the most is like, in addition to being that kind, I know that he believes in true love. Like he might never actually find it, but like I think it's like a cover story where he's like serving mice like dinner, and he's like just
That
like
was
a
so cute. Oh, the
it's
proposal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, it's so cute. I know he periodically watches like romance movies and is just like, yeah,
And
that's
cries
nice.
and weeps. That'll
Yeah,
be me one day.
yeah, truly, truly, truly.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like true love, because Oda's very interesting with how he writes love. So it's like, in terms of romantic true love, will Sanji ever find that one day? Maybe. But in terms of true love, in terms of, platonic family, crewmates, he has found that. So in a sense, he has found true love, in my opinion. Romantically, I don't know.
Selfishly, I enjoy a good love story. I really,
Yeah.
truly, truly do, and I hope that maybe if not
You must have
Sanji.
loved Whole Cake Island then.
I did. I truly, truly
Yeah.
did. I really, really did. For me, I would say if Sanji would have to have a canon romance, I don't know. I did really like him and Pudding together. That makes me so mad that people were upset at Oda for writing. Like, it was obvious they weren't going to end up together, that arc, whatever, but like,
Mm,
they have such a cool parallel, like you said, with their childhoods and also like how they both like
mm.
respond to each other. And like, there is a kindness in Pudding that never died. And Sanji being the one to pull that out just by being who he was, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I truly, really loved that.
I also love Pudding realizing that because God, there's a scene where Sanji saves Nami during like the crashing of the wedding, and we
Mm,
get a single panel of Pudding. And I wasn't sure what to think of that for a while because Pudding never mentions Sanji. Sorry, Pudding never mentions Nami.
mm,
There's no talks of Nami. And again, I love that Oda does that. He doesn't make girls fight each other over men. Thank
mm.
God.
Yeah,
Even Lola, when Nami met Lola, that just turned into Nami like loving Lola. It was so sweet.
immediately. Yeah.
But I was worried for a second, like, oh God, is Pudding gonna be jealous about Nami? Nothing happened there, and I was like, oh, and I wasn't sure what to take of that panel of just a quick reaction from Pudding seeing Sanji and Nami helping each other, and someone said the way they interpret it was Pudding realized in that moment that Sanji will always put the crew above anyone else, that Pudding will be put second amongst the crew because Sanji's crew is
Mm.
everything to him. And even before that, Sanji said to Pudding, like, I like you and I appreciate you, but I can't marry you because I have my crew to get back to. That's the first thing we find out that Sanji said to Pudding. And even Luffy and Chopper and all that, they went, oh my God, Sanji rejected a girl for
Yeah.
us? So
That's
we
so
know that
funny.
Sanji, yeah, right? So we know that Sanji will be putting the crew above anyone else. And that's why it always peeves me when people go, oh, Sanji would leave the crew for a girl. Sanji would leave the crew if a girl told him to. No, he wouldn't. We know for a fact he would not
He
because
would.
Whole Cake Island has proved that. So
Yeah. I
that
don't know.
scene just is near and dear to my heart of Pudding. And that's why Pudding cried, because she let him go because she realized he's happier out there with his crew than he ever would be with her. And that's just such a sweet and mature thing for Pudding to realize and to go through,
That's what I
Because
was
she
gonna
could have just
ask.
removed his
Yeah.
memories
Yeah,
and just
that's
kept him.
that's what I was gonna ask. Like that scene always like I it's not that it confused me, but I wanna know, like, I'm sure you have better insight on it at the end when she kissed him and removed his memories. Like,
Yeah,
why did she do that? It's because like he would have been more happy
yeah,
like leaving, but
exactly.
he was already gonna go. Do you
She
think there was another reason that she was gonna, like, maybe, I don't know. What do you think about that moment, I guess?
He was already gonna go, but having Pudding kiss him and show that, like, she likes him, loves him even,
Mm.
that would, not tear Sanji in two, but it tugs at your heart, right? It would be
Mm.
harder for him to leave
Ah.
Pudding in that moment because, like, Pudding is someone that needs help, right? Like,
Yeah.
she's someone that
Oh.
also wants to find love. So
Oh,
in that
that's
moment,
true.
she removed the kiss from his head because she wanted to save him the pain, essentially save him that struggle. And essentially, like, that was her full blessing to say, run off, pursue your dreams, put the crew above me. I don't want him to have that internal conflict in that time. She made
Oh.
it easier for him while also parting ways in such a sweet way.
Oh my gosh. That is so beautiful. Whole Cake Island is a love story. Oh no. Oh no.
Whole Cake Island's a love story not only between Pudding and Sanji, but between Sanji and Luffy.
Oh, for sure. And it's so dude, it's the end of Shrek 2, the entire arc for Luffy.
Literally.
He for real is like, you need to hear it. Like, he's going through, like, oh my god, dude. And
Pudding
Sanji,
said, "It's okay, run off with your man." That's
literally, yeah.
okay.
It really is. Like, Luffy, God, Luffy loves him. I love especially the end of it where Sanji's dad is like, Sanji, you're useless, you're worthless, all you do is care
Yeah,
about people. And like Sanji's like listening just stoically, and Luffy just sighs and he's like, all right, have a good day,
yeah,
I
thanks,
guess.
bye.
Yeah. It's just like that was weird. He was listing all of your best traits. I was like, oh
Listen,
my
all the
god.
best things. That was crazy. I also really love this. Made me laugh so much when I was reading it. Pudding was like they were talking about meeting Sanji. She was like Sanji's this, Sanji's this, and then she said Sanji is like such a handsome like gentleman. And Luffy went, "Yep, that's Sanji." And I was like, "What?" You went, "That sure is Sanji."
Oh my god. Luffy is so like, oh my god, he's so perfect. Good god, that's so funny. Like I don't think he that's why it's like, man, bless Boa's heart, but there I don't know how like unless Oda literally just does a time skip, I don't think there's any way that you could make me believe that he's just like, yeah, I'm done adventuring. I'll settle down with like I'll do the Sanji thing and just settle down with the most beautiful woman in the world. Like there's just like he's just God. Oh man,
I
he's
mean, I fully believe Luffy ever leaving Sanji's side again. First of all, Whole Cake Island shenanigans. Second of all, his food
yeah,
that
yeah.
Luffy is obsessed with. And it's like, are you telling me Luffy is just gonna like leave and leave Sanji behind? He's gonna be thinking about Sanji's cooking every single day if he
Oh
does
yeah,
that.
yeah. I don't
I'm
think
pretty sure
yeah.
there's even a scene in the time skip where they're like eating the food and Luffy goes, "Oh, it's so good to like eat Sanji's cooking again." And he goes, "Yay, Sanji's cooking." It was something like that. So it's
Yeah.
like I can't see Luffy ever leaving Sanji's side again because there's many reasons, but the food is probably the biggest one.
Oh yeah. He's making like a wherever they all settle down, it's gonna be a big island. I don't think he's letting anybody get too far, to be completely honest.
Luffy,
Like
Luffy's like me, my beautiful wife Hancock, and Sanji who lives with
yeah,
us.
yeah. And Zoro's here too for some reason.
Yeah, also Zoro's here, and the rest of the crew. How did they get here? Whoa.
Yeah, who knows? Is there anything that you like would love to see more of from Sanji? Like as far as like dynamics with like people that we've seen in the past. Like for instance, like we mentioned Viola and Pudding. Do you think there's somebody that like we need to see from Sanji's past interact with him going forward, maybe on Elbaf or like just in the future?
Oh, my answer to this is crazy. His siblings. Oh
That
my
is
god, his
crazy.
goddamn
Oh,
siblings.
that's crazy.
Because okay, the way I've interpreted Hawkeye Island is I love the way, God, I love Hawkeye Island. The way Oda wrote it is, of course, like, the whole Vinsmoke family was abused, right?
Yeah.
Judge was the epicenter of the abuse. Like, yeah, Sanji was getting beat up by his brothers. That was disgusting. Like, that was bad, you know? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
always say Sanji has no reason to forgive them, and he shouldn't have to forgive them. That's, like, never what I'm implying. But those kids have also been abused by Judge, heavily abused. They are all victims of Judge. And it makes me so sad because I interpreted from Whole Cake Island that there was some emotion in Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji. We see glimpses from time to time because the biggest thing I saw is people going, how can Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji be emotionless if, they act out, if they get angry and blah, blah, blah. And I always thought, well, I think the interpretation or what, like, the underlying subtext here is they're not fully emotionless. They just have to be. Otherwise, they will be abused in the same way Sanji was. Because Reiju wasn't emotionless, but think of how she acted. She, like, wasn't born
Yeah.
with no emotions, but she was still stone cold. She still laughed at Sanji getting abused. She ended up helping him in the end, but that's because she was the older sister. And she had more of a connection to Sora than the brothers did. So I do think like they have been mutated, don't get me wrong. I still think they're absolutely like ruined. But there's still little hints here and there that there's more going on here. One of the biggest ones was if when Yonji helped that little bear have like that he picked for him. Because the little bear at the wedding wanted
Mm.
like the grape from the tree and he couldn't reach and Yonji picked it for him and gave it to him. And I was like, why would an emotionless guy do that? Wouldn't he
You
laugh at the bear being able to
you are
pick it up? And Oda
eagle-eyed. Yeah.
well, Oda he adds panels like on purpose, right? I've learned to never underestimate Oda because he will add, like, everything he adds has a purpose all the time. And the saddest one and the biggest one to me is when the brothers were all saving Sanji, helping him get out of there. And Niji and Sanji had that little moment between each other that was so sweet. When Niji was like, if you don't speed up, you're gonna get hit and you're gonna get killed. And Sanji's going, oh my god, leave me alone. And Niji smiles and says, so long. And he says, so long, failure. And all of his brothers are yelling at him, run, Sanji, get out of here, Sanji. While Judge, what does Judge do? Judge just belittles him and just says he's a failure, he's useless. He doesn't even say bye. But his brothers all say goodbye to him along with Reiju. So it's like, it feels to me
Ah.
what's happening here is there's something there that they did want to care about each other, that there's the sibling thing here that could have been really nice. But because they were raised in such an abusive household, they had no opportunity. They were terrified Judge would abuse them the same way he abused Sanji. What were they supposed to do? They just wanted their father's approval because he was a monster and he was in charge of everything. Even when Reiji helped Sanji get away, she still didn't face Judge and she still hid behind the wall because she was terrified of him. So the second Judge breaks down and he cries, and Sanji says, "You are not my father. Leave me alone. Never go after me again." Directly after that is when the brothers start to like help Sanji because it feels like they've realized that they can break away as well, just in a small sense. So I want to see them talk again because I feel like there could be a revelation there. There could be something nice between these siblings that they never got to have
There's no
because of the
way
monster.
that you just made me not hate those people. There's no way that you just did that. That's crazy. That makes way too much sense because I've never thought about that. I think that I accepted it was just Sanji, but Reiju had feelings too. Like, so if that's true, then it stands to reason that the other two should have something as well. And those moments that you mentioned, I never thought about. I just hated them. I won't lie. I saw that flashback, and that was it for me. I was like, all right, so they all got to die. For me, that's how I always felt. But that makes sense. And the fact that Sanji, like, I mean, obviously I knew that Sanji would never, like, hate him. So I think it would make sense for him to, like, and then if he does mutate, that could be, like, and then comes back from that can be a way for him to, like, all right, I understand at least a little bit better what you guys have to fight through to even feel at least a little emotion. So it's like, maybe we can all come back from this. That would be really interesting. Sanji's got, like, the longest character arc in the entire series. It's
He
crazy.
does, right? Well, the thing that made me eagle eye is the fact that when Sanji said to Judge, "You are not my father," I was very interested in why is he not then turning to his brothers and saying, "Also, you're not like my family." It wasn't "You are not my family" to all of them. It was just to Judge, and I was like, "That's interesting. Why is it only Judge he's targeting here?" And then Judge is the only one that didn't get any kind of redemption. Because I see his brothers plus his sister. The fact that his sister was part of that, in my opinion, is what cements that. The fact that all his siblings had a moment of helping him get away and saying, "Run, Sanji, go to the sea, Sanji, get out of here." Essentially pushing him away in like a new way, a revamp essentially of what Reiju did when
Reiji
he was
did, yeah.
little. And she pushed Sanji away and said, "Run." Now they're all doing it. They're all pushing him and saying, "Run, Sanji, get out of here." And Judge was the only one that didn't do that. And I was like, why is Judge the only one that doesn't get this moment? What's going on here? And it's because, again, in my opinion, it's Oda trying to say Judge is who we are meant to really hate. He's the monster here. Everyone else in the Vinsmoke household was just a victim of Judge's disgusting manipulation and his abuse of power. That's like how I saw it after that. And it's like, again, the Vinsmoke kids were disgusting. Like what they did to Sanji was bad, but I don't know if Sanji holds that against them. He was traumatized from it, but I'm not sure how much Sanji truly holds that against them in terms of he knows what it was like being a child under Judge. So, how are you meant to feel, in regards to that?
I mean, that is very. There's no way you just made me give up my hatred for like 3 entire characters. There's no way you did that. But that makes too
Look, you
much
can
sense.
still hate them.
I don't. It doesn't
Just
feel right
understand them.
anymore. Like it doesn't feel right anymore because I know that just makes way too much sense, and like the fact that they can be even redeemed now. Like I did not notice that. I saw the flashback with him in the cage and wearing that metal helmet, and I was like, well, I just hate them. I just hate all of them, I guess, except for Reiju. But that makes a lot more sense. Oda's so good at that thing because I never
He is, right?
thought about that. Oh my god.
What I like Oda's writing because he writes these flaws in these characters. He makes them like complicated, right? Because there are so many people that feel complication towards the Vinsmokes, right?
Mm.
But as I said to you, if you tell people they were part of this abusive system, it's not me saying you have to forgive them. It's me saying this is a very gray area of what were these kids supposed to do. They were children.
Yeah.
What were any of them meant to do? Not only were they children, they were biogenetically enhanced lab rat babies, right? And that's like such a terrible. I cannot imagine like being that existence. Like you were meant to be born human, but your father uses you as an experiment. That's a hell I
And
possibly couldn't imagine.
like, not to mention, like you said, like they saw what happened to Sanju for being different. That brings back,
Mhm.
like, that calls into like I feel like anyone who's went through any feelings of like comparison in childhood knows that that is the last
Exactly.
thing you want to go through. Like,
Exactly. And one of my favorite things that Oda did as well is when we saw all the kids training and Judge was, taking notes in terms of how the kids are progressing with their super soldierism. And Sanji was just a failure. He wasn't succeeding. What I really liked is Judge was always unhappy, but not only was Judge always unhappy, the kids were always unhappy. Even Reiju wasn't happy in that moment. Like they were all targeting Sanji because Judge was targeting Sanji. And the second Sanji gets locked up, what scene do we get? We get Judge smiling, hugging his kids, saying, "Oh, my beautiful kids." So they found out through Sanji existing that made Judge unhappy, so they didn't get approval from Judge because Judge was unhappy at Sanji and was putting all his attention on Sanji. And that's what happens in those situations.
mm-hmm.
Because one of you's a fuck up, the rest of you get punished because of that. So they were desperately trying to get Judge's approval by beating the shit out of
Yeah.
Sanji, which is so
Yeah.
depressing.
It's
And I always think about this scene where Judge is like, "Oh, my beautiful children," and then we just hard cut to Sanji in the dungeon,
I
just looking up at the sky.
no,
Oh my god.
it's so painful. I'll never, when I realized that Sanji has two flashbacks, that's when I think I understood, like, I really think he's the, well, I won't say he's the character other than Luffy that Oda cares about the most. Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but I will say is in terms of like writing, I don't have this much to say about any other straw, maybe Luffy, well, definitely Luffy, but besides Luffy, everybody else, like, I could talk about for hours for sure, but like with Sanji, it's just so much to
2
speculate about.
days.
Yeah, for days. Like, what does that mean? How does he really feel about this? It's just the fact that he never, everybody else can be honest and and like about how they feel to a certain degree to where there's not really ambiguity. With Sanji, I believe he doesn't know enough about himself to actually like accept these things, and then there's so much to peel back too, like with his family and stuff. All right, fine. If I can't hate them anymore, I definitely am gonna still hate Judge. That's what I will make that promise to myself,
Oh yeah.
because he doesn't have an excuse. I'm gonna write that
Judge
down,
is
actually.
truly, he's truly the monster, and like that's exactly what I got from that. I was just so focused on how interesting it was that Reiju, because again, I think the fact that Reiju was with the brothers in that ending scene where they said goodbye is what sold it. And I was like, this is clearly a bonding moment between all the Vinsmoke kids. Minus Judge.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is so funny. So I really want them to meet again. Especially I really want Zoro to meet the Vinsmokes because I want him to be like, "Oh my god, there's three more of them."
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask too. What do you think would happen if Zoro had come to Whole Cake Island with everybody?
Obviously he would have killed Sanji. As every
Yeah, that's
Oh
gotta be.
god.
That's the way.
I can't with that.
Yeah.
Now the reason I think Oda didn't bring Zoro to Whole Cake Island is because that would complicate the shit out of things. Because we've seen, in terms of Zoro caring about his crew, he will do what he wants. Because so many people think Zoro's just like a lapdog to Luffy. He's not. Yes, he
No.
respects Luffy. Yes, he's loyal
Yeah.
to Luffy. He is still his own person.
Yeah.
So what I think would have happened is, because again, Zoro can read Sanji. He knows Sanji. He's very good at that. They know each other. He would just be immensely pissed off at why Sanji isn't reaching out, I think.
Yeah. I
Because
think
he'd
he'd be
realize
frozen.
something's wrong, right? So Luffy had the realization, I have to wait for Sanji to come to me, because if I go to him, that'll push him away more, because he doesn't want that right now. Zoro would be like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go and get him."
Yeah, I
He'd
think.
up and just pull him back, and Sanji would go, "Nah,
Yeah,
let me go."
literally. That's a good. I always thought he'd be frozen. Like I did. I don't like that discourse either, where he'd be like, Zoro would obviously have killed Sanji. I think that's just like such a misread of like all of their characters, to be honest. Because for one, Luffy would literally be like, like Luffy wouldn't let him basically. But like I always thought that he would just kind of be frozen, to be honest, because like especially like I'm imagining the same scene where they meet up with in the car that Sanji was in, and then he steps out and then he's like acting all aggressive like how he was, and Zoro would clock it, Luffy would clock it too, but Zoro would maybe try to fight Sanji or at least block one of his kicks, and then Luffy would immediately say, do not get involved, just like in Jaya, just like in everybody chill out, like let this happen. And I think that scene would play out the exact same way. I think he would just be frozen, and I think after that he would literally just be like, whatever, you're the captain. Like I really think that would defeat him so much. Like I can't believe Sanji just did that. Whatever's going on, like I care about him, but like that was too much for me.
Yep. And he even said with Vivi, and it kills me when he said this, was when all the crew were sad that Vivi was gone after Alabasta, and Zoro was like, if you're so sad, why didn't you just kidnap her and bring her back on the ship? That's how he thinks. He's very straightforward. So I just think he'd see what's going on. He'd be pissed at the fact Sanji is going to such extremes to get them to leave. I think he'd clock that. He'd see that, and he'd go, I'm just going to go and ask. I'm just going to go and pull him back.
Yeah.
That's how he thinks.
Which would be a disaster.
Again, that would be a disaster, right? That would just push Sanji further away. So like it would just be so complicated because of Zoro being, again, Zoro is someone who really knows Sanji. He's just so straightforward. But he God, I had another point, but it's gone. Either way, Zoro cares very much about Sanji, and oh, that's right. Everyone uses the fact that Sanji beat Luffy up as in like, oh, but he couldn't come back to the crew because blah blah blah. Not only does Sanji say to Luffy, I can't come back to the crew because I disrespected the captain. Like he acknowledged that. He straight up said that. Everyone forgets that, and it's like he literally said that he can't. Sanji himself said, I disrespected the captain, I can't come back to the crew. And of course Luffy said, no, you didn't, that's bullshit, because you were lying. That's not disrespecting me if you were, trying to save us, essentially. Of course Luffy didn't say that straight up, but obviously that, is the point. But what gets me is Sanji knows that, and Zoro knows that. Zoro knows that, Sanji knows that, because think about what happened in Water 7. Sanji was the only person who agreed with Zoro in, no, Usopp disrespected the captain, he has to come to us. Zoro knows that Sanji knows that, so he would see Sanji doing this to Luffy and 100% be like, he's trying to get rid of us, something's going on.
Yeah.
Because again, they know each other.
Yeah, immediately. He tried to do, that's what I think, Totally Not Mark did a video where he called, like, it's such an awesome comparison between the fight that Usopp and Luffy have, which is based on, like, brutal honesty, versus the fight that him and Sanji have in Whole Cake Island, which is brutal dishonesty. Like, it's like... Yeah. It's such a cool parallel because, like, you're right. That's not, like, actual, like, Sanji just thinks that he's doing, like, what's right. And I feel like, yeah, Zoro would, it would be so interesting, but at the same time, it would be such a disaster if he was there. He would just try to, like...
such a disaster.
So they would have to fight Sanji and everybody at the tea party at that point. It would be such, it would be lunacy. Like, there would be no way to get everybody in
somehow
control.
Zoro would end up getting his soul taken or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It would be just, because, like, somebody's crashing out. Like, that's just the thing. Like, there's no way that... So I'm glad that he didn't go, but I am really curious because I don't know that they're ever going to get... like dialogue about what happened from like how Zoro feels about it, which it obviously he would, do the thing that he always does, is just be too harsh and be like, well, that cook was stupid. But like, I don't know. I want more insight on like their relationship and like what he would have done in a situation like that.
I do like, there was someone that said something so funny. They said the only reason they wanted Zoro at Whole Cake Island is because they think he could accidentally Looney Tunes like his way to accidentally being the one to marry Sanji. Instead, like running an objection, like the Shrek scene.
I think that would be something that happens, and like he accidentally is there, and Sanji would be like, "Why are you objecting? What are you doing? Like, what's happening?"
Well, it'd be like, "You can't marry Pudding. Why not? He's married to me?" Question mark every time. And look, I don't understand the people that will be like, "Oh, he'd kill Sanji," because they live. How do I explain this? They will say like, oh, Zoro will do whatever Luffy says, but also only if it's in like Zoro's best interest, because I've always refuted with them with, okay, but Luffy accepted Sanji back. So why would Zoro not go, okay? And then, well, no, he disrespected the captain. So he'll only do exactly what Luffy says unless you don't want him to do exactly
Yeah.
what Luffy
Yeah.
says.
Exactly.
It's always been confusing to me. But yeah, so it's like Sanji knows more than anyone that what he did to Luffy was like there was no coming back from that. And it's why it frustrates me when people forget that Sanji said, I can't come back to the crew because I disrespected you. So many people forget about that. It's like Sanji knew full well that this was it. This was the way he was going to get them out of there. And he would
Yeah.
probably never like fix that relationship again. But because Luffy's Luffy, he said, nah, I'm staying. I'm
Yeah.
not leaving.
And I just love that because it's like if that was, I don't even know if it would have worked if it was Zoro, but it definitely wasn't going to work with Luffy. Like if Zoro was the captain and he did that, I think off principle he would have a case for why Zoro might just accept it. But it would have to be after a literal fight. Like Zoro wouldn't just let him kick him. Like Zoro would actually try to fight him and bring him back because obviously, like you said, like he would know something's wrong. But Luffy, there's no way Luffy would like. As soon as he started kicking, Luffy was just like, okay, so like. I love the line when he was like, every time you kick me, you're the one that gets hurt.
Yeah,
I was
you're the
like,
one that gets hurt.
oh man,
I
God.
love God. I love Luffy. I even said it in my Luffy video. I really love the difference between the Water 7 scene and the Whole Cake Island scene because so many people take Sanji's Whole Cake Island scene as a evolution essentially of the Water 7 Robin scene. And while
Mhm,
there's a lot going on there, and I agree that's part of it, I've always equated the fight between Luffy and Sanji as the same as the fight between Usopp and Luffy.
mhm,
Because I'm pretty sure that's what was meant to show Luffy's development as a captain. Because while Luffy, because God, I always explain this to people, the Luffy Usopp thing, it really peeves me the way so many people take it. Because you always get people going, but Luffy was right. He was right. He was right. And I have to explain, this moment wasn't about the logical solution. Usopp knew the logical solution. He even admitted that to Frankie. He knew the Mary was busted. He knew before anyone that the
mhm,
Mary was busted. It wasn't about the logical solution. It was about literally having to put down a crewmate, essentially, someone very special to Usopp and even
mhm,
to Luffy. And someone even pointed out that when Luffy was told the Mary was done for, Luffy himself didn't believe it and he fought back and he said, no, 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 that can't be the case. So Luffy had his time to be able to sit there, to be able to think about it.
and Usopp
He
didn't.
didn't
Yeah,
grant that. Yeah, he
yeah,
didn't grant that to Luffy, to Usopp. And Luffy, like Usopp just woke up, money stolen,
yeah.
bones broken. Luffy, oh, by the way, the Mary's busted. We're getting rid of her. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
There wasn't like, and of course Luffy wouldn't have the like, he wouldn't like try to ease him into it because one, he's going through it too. Luffy's just trying to put on
Yeah,
like a brave face, like, yeah, I mean, but it's okay. We'll be like, he thinks that that's like, but at the same time, like Usopp wasn't having it, and then they were both like, it was brutal. Honestly, they were both getting heated up. Like Luffy was like, "You think I want to do this?
yeah,
Like this isn't like I just like, you know." But it's like, but also with Usopp, he was looking at it like I always like the comparison. Like, okay, so you're just gonna leave. I'm pretty sure he even says this in their argument. If you just want to leave
yeah.
people behind, like I'm pretty sure Usopp is seeing himself in the Mary. Like, what happens when I'm
He
not
is,
strong
yeah.
enough to keep up with you guys? You're just gonna
You're
leave
just
me
gonna throw
behind?
me away.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I love that scene so much because I stand by Luffy is the one who escalated that to the
he did.
extent
He
that it
did.
became.
Because Sanji
Because if
stopped him.
Luffy,
Yeah. Whenever he
exactly, and
was like, yeah.
if Luffy had kept his head in that moment and had tried to work to understand Usopp more than he was going, well, this isn't fair on me. This isn't fair on me.
Mhm.
If he looked at Usopp and realized this is also very unfair on Usopp, because again, everyone goes, but Usopp, Usopp, yes, but Luffy's the captain. That's
Mhm.
a very different role to have to Usopp, right?
Mhm.
Luffy is the captain. He has to keep this crew together. Zoro even says that as the captain, your decisions are what like cement us essentially. Keep your head or we will all waver. So Luffy escalated that because he just couldn't keep his head in that situation. And then, of course, that's when Luffy said, fine, if you want to leave, leave. And that's when Sanji kicks the shit out of him because Sanji realized Luffy saying that meant there was truly no going back. If the captain
Mhm.
says that, you're gone. So, I know there are so many Zoro bros who don't understand why Zoro didn't do anything in that moment because he kicked, Sanji kicked Luffy. And they're like, what? He just let that happen because the only logical reasoning and explanation is Zoro agreed with Sanji there. He
Yeah.
agreed that Luffy was acting out and acting like an idiot,
Yeah.
and Sanji was the one to step forward and say, "Watch what you're saying."
I
That's a
love
very
that
dangerous thing to
scene.
say.
Like he kicked him and he was like, I love that. He's just like, what were you about to say? Like Sanji's very like usually he's like, well, I just love that. I love that entire scene. But Sanji, when he kicks Luffy, just like he doesn't even let him fit. Like Sanji's reaction to that was immediately like, I have to stop him. If he
Yeah,
completes that sentence, there's no going back. And immediately Luffy's like, you're right. I'm sorry. Like
yeah,
immediately
you're right.
Luffy's
I'm
like,
sorry.
I didn't mean that. Whatever. But it's too late. Like
And
Usopp
so,
heard what he was about to say, and it's like, okay, fine, that's fine.
exactly. And Sanji as well totally understands Usopp because the Usopp's whole problem is if I'm not useful enough to the crew, they are going to kick me out. Think about Sanji's whole life in terms
Yeah,
of what he
yeah,
through. He and Chopper as well is why he was important during this moment with wanting to save Usopp is because Chopper and Sanji both came from places where they thought love was conditional, essentially. Because Chopper thought he had to prove himself to be around Hidelak or to be around Dr. Kudaha for a long time. Sanji was exactly the same. He thought any love was conditional. So being on the Straw Hats crew and feeling like, oh, Luffy's love is unconditional, in that moment, they had probably a thought that was Luffy's love might be conditional because he's literally just throwing someone away. So of course that freaked Sanji out, and of course he stepped forward and kicked the shit out of Luffy
yeah,
because this scared Sanji as much as it scared Usopp and as much as it scared Chopper and everyone else in that moment. Because that was a really bad, like, just heated moment that Luffy had where it looked like, yeah, if you don't ship up, I will throw you away, essentially.
yeah,
And that's just a terrible thing to have happen. So that seeing Luffy fight Usopp in that moment, and I love that fight so much because it's not like a strong fight, right? But it's not meant to be because we know Luffy even says, "You know you can't beat me." But I love that because we have so many moments of Luffy on the ground. He doesn't want to stand up
mm,
because he's realized I've made a mistake and he can't go back. And I love when he starts crying and he says, "This is tough. This is hard."
yeah,
And of course, Hassan Zoro says to him, "You have to stand up because you're our captain. And if you waver, we waver too. Who are we meant to rely on?" So that was Luffy having a moment as a captain, realizing his decisions are the most important to the crew. If he's made a decision, he must go through with it, or he makes everyone essentially back out with him. And he can't do that as a captain. So he started crying because he realized that this was a terrible mistake and there was no way he could go back from this. So in Whole Cake Island, I love that he didn't get angry. He didn't fight back because he's learned his lesson. He's learned if I fight back, if I get angry at Sanji, I'm essentially throwing him away because that will be a mistake and he refuses. And I really love that Luffy doesn't cry once. He doesn't cry once in that moment because he is confident in his decision with Sanji, with Whole Cake Island. Exact opposite to what happened with Usopp and how he clearly regretted that. It's such good
it's
parallels. It's such
brilliant.
good
It's
development.
it's so brilliant. Like, and that's something that I always like. I love that, like their argument, him and Usopp's argument so much because you're right. He 100%. If he would have just like kept his cool, empathize maybe. Like I get that it's not really in his character to like be overly wordy, but he doesn't have to be. If he would have just not said the sentence, "If you don't like how I do things, you can leave." If he would have just not said that, I don't think like I think the situation would have gotten resolved like any other way. But like I think you're
Usopp
right.
wouldn't have said, "Okay, we're fighting then."
Yeah, exactly. Like, cause that activated him. Like Usopp was literally like, okay, well, if I am useless, then I have to like it basically forced him into a position where he had to prove not only to himself, but like in a way the Mary, like how important they both were. Like at that moment, it became
Mm,
bigger than everything to Usopp, and it was like,
yeah.
Luffy did that. He should have been smarter.
Yep. And all Luffy needed to do in that moment was let Usopp basically voice out his sadness because Usopp was just grieving, and that's the saddest part to me. In that moment, he was grieving. He
Mm-hmm.
was over emotional, and like misunderstood because he didn't know how to like process this. He didn't want to process this. And anyone who's been in a situation where you lose someone or something you care about, you become distraught and you don't mean what you say because you're just overwhelmed, with these negative emotions that you don't know what to do with. So
Right.
if Luffy had just let Usopp voice it out, and had just essentially stood there like exactly like he did with Whole Cake Island with Sanji, that wouldn't have escalated and Usopp would have felt much better. And after that, they could talk about it like normal people. But Luffy just decided, all right, we're fighting.
Yeah, he
Fucked
completely
it up.
made that decision, and I just, man, I love Water Seven. Would you say, do you have like a favorite like arc?
It's Whole Cake Island.
Okay, same,
It's
same,
Whole Cake
same,
Island.
same,
Whole
same,
Cake
same.
Island and Dressrosa are my two favorite arcs for sure.
Dressrosa is really tight. I would say definitely for me, Whole Cake Island. I think I do like Dressrosa. I think other than that, nah. I'm pretty sure it's just Whole Cake Island takes the cake. I mean, obviously all of them are great, but yeah, it's like I don't know. Wano's cool, but like. We got to go back to Wano. That's my only issue with Wano. Why I can't rank it too high. We literally have to go back. There's too much we still have to
I
do.
really, really like Wano for a lot that it did. I think the reason a lot of people didn't like it is because they said, "Oh, it didn't wrap everything up," and that makes no sense to me.
That's what I'm saying. It's not
Because
over. Like
the story's still going,
yeah,
exactly. And it's like, what do you mean it
we're
didn't wrap
going
everything
back.
up?
Like, or someone's going back. Something's gonna happen with Wano. Like, I was never that. I never complained. Like, I really loved the. I think it was Boris. He came up with the like, yeah, the raid's gonna fail. I was laughing. I got caught up to One Piece in the Wano arc, so I was taking everything that I learned from One Piece and I was like applying that. And I was looking at it realistically. I was like, okay, so I don't know what's gonna happen in Wano, but if you think Oda is going to keep us here for another 4 years, he might do that. But like, I don't think he's gonna do that. I just feel like
people were expecting it to be another Saboti situation where Kuma like threw everyone away.
I was like, I don't know. I don't think that we're setting up. I was like, first of all, that was so pivotal because Luffy had to like it led to Marineford. And it's like, we could be headed to like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think we've got more like on the up and up. Like, and now seeing where we are now in the story, it's like, yeah, this feels more like appropriate as progress.
Yeah. I mean, Wano gave us Zoro kills Kaido. And I have to love Wano for that. That was you have no idea how much fun that was on my end. It was torture for the ZKK believers, right? For me, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen because narratively, it made no sense. And I was like, no, Oda's not going to make Zoro kill Kaido. That makes no sense on a narrative.
Just for like swordsman kills dragon. That's it. That's all they had. Like it was literally
and it made me laugh because they were like, oh, because like Odin. And I was like, guys, Odin didn't kill Kaido. What are you guys talking
That's not evidence, guys. That's not evidence. Oh my god.
The funniest thing, and I'll never forget, it was the funniest thing that ever happened. I loved every single chapter that came out. The Zoro kills Kaido believers were going, this chapter, this chapter. Meanwhile, Zoro's literally falling off a cliff unconscious. And I was like, guys, give up.
He's fighting King. He's gonna, and after he's done with King, he's gonna go back up to the roof, and that's when he's gonna handle Kaido.
He passed out. He saw death. He fell off a cliff, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's done, guys!" He's done.
Zoro's going through his own arc in the middle, like that. Like Zoro's Wano arc was the entirety of Onigashima. Like he went through hell, and there were people like, "Yeah, and he's gonna kill Kaido." I was like, "Okay." Like I don't even think Luffy's gonna do that.
I would just never forget. Gear 5 happens. Frankie is holding an unconscious Zoro, and Frankie's going, "God, I gotta get Zoro out of here." And there's still people going, "It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen." I was like, "Guys, please."
You let it go, please. Like Zoro has thrown in the tile.
Exactly. That was my own personal like entertainment through that time. Like I don't want to make fun of them because I'm not trying to, but like every week, like it was just the fire was diminishing and they were still doing it. And I was like, this is amazing. I feel like I'm watching like a sport right now and they're just refusing. Like the team is getting decimated.
Dude.
No goals have been scored. You can do it.
Literally though. And that was my first introduction to like was finally caught up so I could finally like look at everything that everybody was saying about everything so I wouldn't get spoiled. And like, it was crazy. I couldn't believe, and then it started making me think maybe I just don't know the story. But then, like you said, as things went on, I was like, all right, well, if he just saw death, guys, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's...
I think he's done.
I think he's done fighting at least. I don't know. Like, I don't even think he's got enough strength to swing his sword anymore. Like, it's over. But that's...
Yeah, but of course, the funniest part was, you know, as the wings of the Pirate King, because Zoro and Sanji were collectively taking on Kaido's own wings, because they're the king and the queen. And I like everyone always goes king stronger than queen, blah blah blah. They're called the king and the queen. They're supposed to be equals.
Yeah.
King and queen were the exact same equals the way Zoro and Sanji were. They were the all stars, right? There
Mm-hmm.
was no definitive
One over the
scaling
other.
there
Yeah.
apart from that. The Oda even gave us that little chart of the all stars, which was Kaido on the top, Jack on the bottom, and then King and Queen were right next to each other. And it's like, this is so obvious in terms of, these are Kaido's own wings. So it's like, what made no sense to me, and they just didn't, they just don't like Sanji being equals with Zoro, but it was, it would make no sense for Zoro to take out Kaido's own left-hand man, while Sanji has taken out his right-hand man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, left, whatever. And then only for Zoro to go back up to the rooftop. I was like, I don't know how to say this to you guys. If they did go back up to the rooftop, Sanji's going with him.
Yeah.
It
No,
wouldn't just be
for
Zoro.
sure. No, they're jumping Kaido if they go, and then Luffy's got to still be awake. If anybody goes back up to the roof, like, we're jumping Kaido. Like, that's what's happening for sure. Like, there's no way.
And what absolutely gets me as well is Zoro had his moment where he versed Kaido, and he got washed. Like,
Yeah.
what are you guys talking? He couldn't handle Kaido because he's not on Luffy. Luffy's the captain, to the point that he literally got hit down a level where Sanji was, and it's like,
Yeah.
this is so obvious. This is so obvious in what's being set up here. I don't know why you all think that this is what's going to happen because you want Zoro to be the main character, I guess. It was so bizarre, but I just thought it was hilarious because as someone who reads One Piece narratively, I suppose, and is reading One Piece as a story and not a sport, I guess, question mark. I could exactly see what was happening, and these guys were convinced that's not what's going to happen.
You were just paying attention. You were just reading
I
a
was
story.
paying
That was
attention.
it. Like I was new to the entirety of the community, so I was wondering, I was like, okay, has Zoro ever, it had me rereading stuff. I was like, has Zoro ever like beaten the main bad guy? Is there any evidence to support this? When I tell you their only evidence was swordsman kills dragon, I was like, there's got to be more to this. There
Odin's
wasn't.
sword.
It wasn't. It's just sword. That's it. And then just
Yeah.
Odin, and that's not even a reference.
The Odin sword that didn't even kill. Oh my god, it made me laugh so much.
I was about
Anyways,
to say, oh my god.
that was a very good time. I really enjoyed that. As long as you don't take it seriously, because like I just didn't take it seriously at all. I had such a good time.
I think
through
that's
all of that.
that's how you have to do it. What do you think about? I love this one. Ska Sabo kills Akainu. How do you feel about Ska?
What? This is I've never what?
You've never heard of Ska? Yeah, we have like bird emojis. We just said it's like Ska. It's like Sabo kills Akainu.
I'm not on that side. Listen, my timeline is just Sanji kissing boys, okay? So I have not seen that one.
Oh
Ska?
my god, Ska. Yeah, Ska. I think it's hilarious.
I mean, that has more credibility than Zoro killing Kaido. I'm not gonna lie, only
Yeah.
because Akainu killed Ace, but I'm still not 100% sure on that.
I don't know. I think because Akainu scarred Luffy, so I'm just like, I feel like there's some resolution to be had there. Also, what is Akainu's backstory? I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Like, does Sabo even like Sabo? I feel like if you have like, this is my problem with like amnesia characters. I feel like if you have amnesia, getting me to be invested in your comeback is going to be difficult. Like, and Sabo's been around for a while, so like,
I'm not like, oh god, I'm not gonna lie. When I found out that Oda made not only like a hidden like secret second brother,
yeah,
or whatever the hell it was.
yeah.
Not only that, but he had amnesia. I simply just laughed my ass off because I was like, this is the cheesiest, tropiest thing he could ever do ever. And
Yeah.
he just leaned into it. No shame. He was like, yep, here comes.
He didn't care. He did not care.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the funniest thing he could ever do. There's just no shame here. Shamelessly, here's my amnesia hidden brother character. And I was like, oh my
Literally,
God.
I could not believe it because this is why I felt stupid. When I saw it was post Marineford when we get introduced to Sabo, I thought he really was gone. I thought he was actually like, they
Yeah.
showed us his death. I was like, damn. So that's why, because it makes sense. That's why Luffy is like, I will never lose anybody ever again. And that's why Ace's death hurts the most. I was like, this makes perfect sense to have someone to introduce a secret third brother in this flashback. When we got to Dressrosa and I saw that hat, I was like, you son of a bitch. I
Wait a
was
minute,
like,
yeah.
I knew it. I was like, oh no. And then the amnesia, and I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, what? Oh my god.
Oda was 100% having a giggle at that because Oda's very well read. It's very obvious. He has, I'm convinced all he does is watch and read things when he
Yeah.
has a time off. He's very, very good at what he does because he's very, not worldly, but just very well read. So it's like he
Mm.
100% knows how cheesy that fucking trope is. And he did it anyway. And it's like, you're an absolute bastard. I cannot believe you did that. But in saying that, I do like Sabo a lot because I like
Oh,
the
I love Sabo,
seeing the
yeah.
different paths that the brothers are taking. I
Oh
like
yeah.
seeing Luffy on his way to become, a pirate, even though he's the son of Dragon, and then Sabo on the way to be a revolutionary, even though Sabo is the son of nobles under
Hmm.
Dragon. These are just like they're just fun, parallels to see, I suppose, in terms of both of these characters are fighting for a type of freedom, on different paths. And Sabo as well is like, actively trying to free people, while Luffy is like, nah. I mean, if I free
Yeah.
an island, I free an island, but
Yeah, I love like their dynamic because Sabo is almost like in any other series he would be the main character because he's actually
exactly.
like, no, I want to save people, and Luffy's like, I mean I'll save people, but like this is still my story and we're doing what I want to do, so don't forget about that.
Not because I care about the island,
Yeah,
because I
literally.
care about this one person.
I love his like in Fishman Island. He was like, "I love heroes, but I don't want to be one." And he was like,
I don't want to be one. Yeah,
listen here, Jinbei. This is what a hero is." And he breaks it down like heroes have to share their meat. And Jinbei's like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever. If you just come with me, stop being dumb for 5 seconds, I'll give you all the meat you want." And he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever. That's fine then." Like,
in
oh my
uh,
god.
in Fishman Island at the end when they're all going, "Yay, Luffy's a hero, Luffy's a hero," and he's like,
Yeah,
"Stop that!
he
Stop
activates. He's
calling
like,
me."
"Stop calling me a hero right now." He gets so pissed off, dude. It's hilarious. And Sabo,
And my
meanwhile,
favorite,
is like the
yeah, he's
Flame
like,
Emperor.
"Yay!" Yeah, my favorite thing as well is when Luffy's yelling, "Stop that! Stop that!" Behind him, Zoro also says, "Wait, I agree because I don't want to share my sake with everyone."
Immediately, Zoro's like, "Wait a minute, that's what being a hero means? Then yeah, I don't want to be a hero either." They're so
They're
stupid,
such
dude.
idiots. I love them. I really like the duo of Zoro and Luffy because they're both like stupid idiots. They're so
Yeah,
funny. I really like them a lot.
I
But
love them. Yeah,
yeah, I'm a big fan of Sabo because of that. And Oda's cheesiness. His cheesiness is just I love how unapologetic he is about his cheesiness. He likes happiness. He likes good endings. He's very clear about that. And it's like,
that's
let him
yeah.
have a happy ending.
That's why I love Otis so much, because I have full faith that One Piece will have like, I love cheesy and happy endings. I love, there's obviously sad endings have a purpose too, but from everything that I've seen, I don't believe Oda has it in him. I do not think Oda can deliver
Mm,
us with like
mm.
I think there's going to be some sad moments still up ahead, but I think at the end everybody's going to be happy. Like I believe that in my soul.
Mm. He did that with Kuma. And I'll never forget when Egghead was coming out and everyone was going, Kuma's gonna die, Kuma's gonna die. And I kept saying, because of course I stream my manga reads, I was like, I can see it going either way. I can see Oda killing Kuma, but I can also see him wanting to save Kuma. I personally didn't know what he was gonna do. And the amount of people going, no, he's dead. He's dead. He's just dead. And I was
No,
like,
I was
why are
like,
you so
yeah,
confident?
I was about to
Like,
say, like, Pale came back after being exploded, right? You remember that's what
exactly.
happened there? We don't even care about Pale.
Exactly.
So it's like, we love
Right.
Kuma to death, man. I don't
Yeah.
know, because I could see it going either way, but at the same time, like, because this is the thing, right? I think that, like, imagine having a funeral for Kuma. I need that pain in my veins. That would hurt so
Right.
good, right? That would be like
Exactly.
the Going Mary's funeral, but like for
Mm.
Kuma, be so
Yeah.
painful. At the same
Set him on
time,
fire.
yeah, set him on fire and just push him into the ocean. Goodbye,
Goodbye,
Kuma.
Kuma.
Yeah. He's still just a robot, like, ouch. And he's like, but like, but at the same time, it's Kuma. So if Oda can find a way to bring him back and it not be like, again, like you said, I think he would even just do it shamelessly, like, yep, Kuma's just fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're good now.
Exactly. God, I'll never forget when Kuma made it out of Egghead. That little smile he had in the second recent chapter, that was so cute. But the amount of people that came back to me hat in hand, Mel, you're right. He
Yeah,
survived. And I was like, I
yeah,
told you.
yeah.
I told you. Odin likes happy endings, so I could see him wanting Kuma to exist. Especially with God, Egghead was so good with Bonnie. and the make your own future, forge your own future. The amount of
Man.
people that got angry at Gear 5 Bonnie was bizarre to me.
That was weird,
Absolutely
right?
bizarre.
That was so weird. It's a little kid being free. Like, that's awesome, dude. I don't know. I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, because Oda was really up and down on Egghead on purpose. Because I really like the chapter called "I'm Sorry, Daddy," when the elder Saturn, I think it is, grabs Bonnie and is like, your life is nothing, your future's nothing, you're nothing, blah blah blah. And because of that, Bonnie can't use her power anymore because the only future she can see is just her death, essentially, just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kuma comes out of nowhere, punches the shit
Punches the
out of
shit
him.
out of
And
him.
then the next chapter is "Thank you, Daddy." And then Bonnie's back on her feet with like a happier future in front of her. It was so gorgeous. And then, of course, evolving that into Luffy saying, your life is your own, essentially. Fight for your own freedom, make your own freedom, make your own path. And then she unlocks Gear 5.
It's
And it's so
beautiful.
cute.
It's so beautiful. And I love how like Luffy's just in it. He's so dumb. He was literally like, yeah, you could do this too. I guess. I don't know. I really don't understand what your devil fruit is, but why can't you go Gear 5? And then she just does it and he's like,
Yeah.
sweet.
She's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, literally. Like it's beautiful. And it's a wonderful payoff, especially after we saw the flashback with Bonnie, Ginny, Kuma. Everything that
Yeah.
they went through, like the only thing that would have been better for me is if Kuma would have like delivered the finishing blow to Saturn, but that's not what it's about. Everything was
Yeah.
like, that was never what it's about. It's not about vengeance. It's not about any of that. That's just what
I
I
must
wanted.
say, I did really like seeing like Frankie like wheeling out Kuma's body through Egghead, like holding ass to get him out.
I love Frankie so much, man. We
I love
need more Frankie in this upcoming arc. We desperately do.
I love Frankie because he's such a clutch. In like nearly all the arcs, he's such a clutch. He's always the guy that is like catching people and going, "Holy shit, are you okay?"
He's hilarious. Like you said on Wano when Zoro was just unconscious. He was like, Zoro, what happened to you? Like, what is going? Oh God, the island's.
Yeah.
We got to get out of here. Let's go, Zoro. Like
Yeah.
he's locked in. It's so funny.
Yeah, even before that, when Zoro got knocked through the wall because of King, Frankie caught him and said, "Are you good?"
What is going on over there? Don't worry about it. Just help me get back over there. Oh God, I need like. Do you have like a favorite like forgotten straw hat, like a straw hat? So like obviously we have like the main, like everybody loves like the main ones. Like I guess we call them the East Blue because it's the East Blue people that are like the most taken care of, like Chopper included. I would say, and then obviously
don't-
Robin too.
I don't believe in this question because there's no forgotten straw hat to me. I was shocked to find out there was because I think one of my strengths in my content is I like all the straw hats so much. Yes, I
same.
love Sanji, but I can't rank them after Sanji. So it goes Sanji, and then I guess Luffy, Zoro, Nami. Although I will say if Vivi does join, if Vivi comes back, she would 100% be my second favorite straw hat just because I really, really like Vivi
Oh, she's
and her
got to come
story.
back. She's got to come back.
I know,
She's
right?
gotta come back.
I've been my
Gotta.
VV stocks. I've been investing them for eons, and I'm like,
Oh,
she's coming back.
same.
I'm so
She's
sure
coming
she's
back.
coming back.
She's coming back.
The second
Absolutely.
she came back in the mainline story with, by the way, Vivi's originally, she's like the original Rebellion D Haver. I was like, that's it.
Perfect. That's it. That's all I
I
needed.
said, that's it. She's back. Yeah,
She's back. She's coming.
She's coming back.
She's coming. There we
Um,
go.
If Vivi joins, she'll be my second favorite. After that, I can't rank them because I really, really, really like all of them so much. They just all
Same.
have such good moments. They're such good characters. They all make me happy. Like there'll be
I
moments
agree.
where it's like, maybe I'll be like, Brooke doesn't stand out to me as much, but then Brooke will have a moment. Like with Robin and Brooke during Wano, that was so just nice and so good. And it reminds you, oh, this is why I like these characters so much. This is why I like the Straw Hats so much.
Yeah.
Because they go
yeah.
through these things that you love,
I think forgotten, I guess, is the wrong because I agree. I think all of their moments is what the moments need to be. Like even Brooke, like I think people, because to be honest, like not everybody needs or can have as expansive of a character arc as Sanji. Brooke, I
Otherwise
would
it's too
say,
much.
I think that would definitely be too much. I think, and especially for characters like Brooke, who is so old, and Brooke's literally just like the
Yeah.
horny grandpa. Like he's just there to help. He literally just wants to help all the kids do what they need to do. Like
He
Brooke,
just wants to live, god damn it.
yeah, that's it. He just wants to live and go home and see his whale maybe at the end of the story. Hopefully at the end of the story. But like
Can you imagine if Oda doesn't do that actually? End of story, Brooke doesn't meet Laboon. Bye.
oh no. That would have to I think oh no, I can't. No, I truly can't. That would be hilarious in such the wrong way. Like I would say But like I would say then, I guess if forgotten's the wrong word, maybe just like
Underappreciated.
underappreciated. That would be right. Because I mean, I love all of them too. I feel like I can rank them. For me, Luffy is undeniably number one. He is so funny. For the love of God, he is the funniest character I think I've ever seen in fiction. And not only is he the funniest, for God's sake, how deep he is, it's kind of insane. He
Yeah.
is a cartoon character in a world
know,
that
right?
like is already wacky. But if you put him in any situation, he'll make it 11 times funnier. But then like so much
He's the
deeper.
wackiest.
Like, yeah, like, and he'll, like, especially, like, with Whole Cake Island and stuff, like, with, like, whenever he's dealing with his friends, or even with strangers, he's so emotionally intelligent. It's crazy seeing such an idiot be one of the most, like, an emotional genius. Like, he's such an interesting character. And then
Yep.
right below him is Sanji, and then I would say maybe Robin is under him. But I think when it gets to, like, 3, it starts getting, because, like, I really could put, like, I love Nami, and I love Usopp, I love, like, I love them all, too. But, like, I guess, like, underappreciated would be a better word then.
I wouldn't say Usopp's unappreciated. I'd say he's misunderstood, but I really, really like Usopp. But I guess currently my favorite underappreciated Straw Hat would probably be Jinbei, because a lot
Yeah.
of people are saying he doesn't fit in, he doesn't fit the mold, he's not feeling like a Straw Hat. And
Really?
I wasn't yeah, there's a lot of that happening because he's new, you know, he's new. So a lot of people are just different bad essentially.
I guess, yeah.
So Jinbei, I feel like gets, I want to say a lot of shit just for being a happy guy.
He
God damn,
is.
he's just a nice guy.
He's just a nice
But,
dude.
But Jinbei, I feel is underappreciated because I am kicking myself for not realizing that, of course, Jinbei will be part of the crew, joining the crew, because Luffy's most pivotal moment, or one of his most pivotal moments, was Ace dying, and of course, the one person there was Jinbei to help him through that. And in saying that as well, Jinbei is also carrying on Ace's will to help protect Luffy, because Ace literally said to Jinbei, "Can you like help and protect my kid brother for me?" And Jinbei said, "I have never met this man in my life." So
Yeah.
I'll decide that. Thank you very much. But because Jinbei really liked Ace, as we know he did, and then he met Luffy and he realized how much he liked Luffy, like, oh man, of course he was gonna join the crew with how much he helped Luffy, how much Jinbei meant to Luffy, what Ace meant to Jinbei as well as Luffy. Like, I feel like people overlook that Ace meant a lot to Jinbei in the same way that Ace meant a lot to Luffy. So it just made perfect sense what he did in Whole Cake Island. Not only like the leaving Big Mom with the sake cup, like what a gentleman, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was so cool of him. And then at the same time helping Sanji as well get out of there. One of my favorite panels is when Judge is saying to, you know, Sanji's useless, he's pathetic, blah blah blah. Not only is Sanji looking like jaded, Jinbei is as well. Jinbei barely knows Sanji, and that
Yeah.
still pissed Jinbei off.
Jinbei
that
was
Judge
scowling at him.
saying.
Jinbei was just
Exactly,
like, you
right?
bastard. Yeah. Jinbei's
And
amazing.
yeah, and I like Jinbei a lot, and a lot of people say Jinbei is like the straight man, and all that. I personally do not believe there's a single straight man on the Straw Hats. The reason I like Oda's writing in the Straw Hats is because anyone can be the comic relief at any time.
Yeah.
Robin
Yeah.
has had many moments where she's just been, you know,
Robin's so
she
funny.
said the joke. Yeah, exactly.
It's so
Frankie,
funny.
Brook, Chopper, Usopp, Nami, Zoro especially, I think, they all have moments of comic relief. And Jinbei himself, his reactions to the Straw Hats, that's part of it. I wouldn't call him the straight man, but he is definitely the what the hell is going on?
He's the fish out of water
But
for
he's-
sure, but he's not. Yeah,
Exactly.
I can see that not being the straight
But
man.
he's quickly become accustomed to the Straw Hats, and it's made me laugh so much because one of my favorite moments he's had is in Wano, or Onigashima, I guess, is Luffy ran off. And everyone was like, "Where's Luffy?"
Yeah.
And Jinbei was like, "Oh, Luffy ran off." And they went, "Oh my god, he's gonna make it worse." And then Jinbei said, "Oh no, it's okay." Because Zoro went after him. And then they went, "Oh my god, he's gonna get lost." And Jinbei is like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah.
And he's learned his lesson because in Egghead, when
Yep.
he had to go get Zoro,
He was
just
already
picked
going
him
to
up.
go. Yeah, he was already going to go get Zoro. And then as soon as he got there, he was like, "All right," picked him up, and then stole one off on
Like a
Lucci
kitten.
and just
Yeah.
ran to the ship. I love
He
that.
beat the shit out of Lucci, picked Zoro up like a kitten, and said, "We're leaving. We're getting out of here."
Let's go. He learned his. I mentioned that in one of my chapter reviews too, because like he truly did. Like that panel is like Sanji's like telling him like, yeah, he's only gonna get lost, and Jinbei's like, I'm already on my way to go get him. He's like, I'm already
Exactly
out
right.
there. We gotta get him. I get
He
it.
learned his lesson very quick and really made me laugh. And then the other thing, it wasn't something that made me laugh, but I thought it was so cool when Who's Who, uh, the racist cat.
Yeah.
This is fucked up, but I love Who's design. I think he's got such a cute cat form. I think he looks adorable. It's a shame that he's a bigot, but you know how
Yeah.
it goes.
You know how
But
it
I
goes.
really love how Jinbei was like, wow, racism in the current year, unbelievable. He was like, wow, fishman racism. I cannot believe I'm hearing this.
He was really just that was a really funny moment, and he was like not like cool about it, but honestly like that's like a real reaction that I think that I would have, especially in that world. Like, wow, dude, seriously, it's like 2024.
I
Jinbei
mean,
literally was like, it's
it's
2024, dude, come on.
God, it's not the same as, of course, racism, of course, but I'm a queer woman, right?
Mm.
I'll never forget having a time in my Twitch chat where I was talking about like, I don't know, like queer stuff, and someone was like, "Wait, you like support that?" And I read that wrong, and I thought they were saying supporting something else. I was so lost in my own world, I didn't realize they meant that in the homophobic way. And I was like, "Wait a minute, in the current year, you're asking me that?"
Dude, that's what people have told me. Like their favorite part about like of one of my videos is them like my honest like flabbergast. Like it was one of my videos. All I did was like say he would referring to Yamato. That's all I did. I didn't go on like
Yeah,
a paragraph or like whatever. I literally was just like, cause
yeah,
Yamato, Kaido's son, like just something
yeah.
really simple. And then in the comments, it was like this crazy like diatribe is just like, yeah, it's just you're brainwashing the kids. I was like, the kids? I was so
This woke leftist.
flabbergasted. I was so confused. And so I was literally just on camera like for like a good like 30 minutes, like, I don't understand. Like so like people have told me like their favorite part is like watching normal people react to things that are just unhinged. Cause like I was not prepared like at all. I did not know that
Yeah.
anyone could say something like that.
God, I think the context for mine, I think I remember it. I think they said you support that, but I think I was talking about Sanji and queer stuff. And I think I said, do I support Sanji? I was like, I guess. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Oh my gosh. I just like, yeah, it's which is crazy. This is why I thought I would never, because I would understand if I was like in like, because I mean every fandom can be toxic in like their own way, sure. But
All of them, yeah.
I would understand it. But with One Piece, we had Impel Down. I mean, come on, dude. Like I really
I
do
know.
not. I don't understand why you could think that Oda would even agree with any of the nonsense that you would say. Like, and like I just didn't understand. I was so flabbergasted. Like that's crazy.
Well, this is a fun fact, by the way. Maybe you know this. Iva, being based off the Rocky Horror person, right?
Hmm.
Not only is Iva based off the Rocky Horror character, Iva's also based on a real life drag queen friend that Oda has. And
Really?
originally, yeah, he put it in an SBS, and originally the drag queen friend was voicing Iva, but the complications happened, so he couldn't keep doing it. But this is why I'm saying when people say Oda this, Oda that, I hate the assumption that people think Oda's living under a rock and he just doesn't understand, like, different communities and different areas of life. And it's like, he has literally quite openly said that he has made like friends with drag queens during his university days. He's even based one of his characters off of one of his friends, and it's like, how can you possibly say like Oda? Like, assume these things about Oda while he's very clearly in communities himself in a way, Like it's just so strange to me.
I don't understand. One Piece is the one series where I would have thought everybody like there's no way you can be that close-minded and watch it. Like what do they do when they get to Impel Down? That's what I don't understand. Like what do you like how do you absorb that? What do you do when you meet Bon Clay, for God's sake? Like how do you interpret that? Kiku is another one, which it's like I
I
find
know,
which
right?
I'm glad that the discourse that like rots people's brains on Yamato has not like in, or at least I
Yeah,
haven't
gone to
seen it. Yeah,
Kiku.
at least I haven't seen it. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I think I would lose it if any of that came in because that's just blatant. You know what I mean? Like that's like
Yeah,
I think they can kind of hide
yeah,
it or mask it with Yamato. But if anyone's hating on Kiku for that, like, oh, you got some problems you got to sort out. Like that's
right.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think my friend put it best because I think it's a bit because I talked to this with friends and I think it's partly shonen brain rot in a sense,
Mm.
but I think it's also because I was like talking to my friend about like how can people be like pro military and then like something like One Piece, which is so blatantly anti-military, like it's so blatant, it's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
That they just seem to side with the Marines and like the Marines. And then my friend was like, "Well, I think it's because they just like battleship imagery, gun imagery. The imagery is so much more appealing to them. They're just completely ignoring like the
The
story itself."
story, I guess. I
And I
suppose.
think that's what's happening. They're just totally ignoring the story and just seeing like what they want to see, essentially.
I suppose. Somebody did in my comments, they gave a really good explanation for at least the Yamato discourse. Like, they're afraid that if they admit that Yamato is a man, then,
Oh, they're
like,
gay.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, that makes sense because, like straight men, dude, it is hilarious. It is, like,
Yeah,
absolutely hilarious the lengths they will go to not be gay. It's hilarious. It's so
I
funny.
know.
It's so funny.
I mean, I've always said with Yamato, if Yamato were not attractive, this wouldn't be a
This wouldn't be a
discourse. No
thing,
one
like,
would
at all.
care. But because Yamato is attractive, we have to fight about it.
We
It's
have
like,
to fight
who
about it.
cares? Who
No,
cares?
it's truly. I don't think you do. But that's what I'm saying. Like, especially with One Piece, dude. Like, it doesn't. And that's how I know Oda. Like, Oda's not even thinking about this. Oda's just like, yes, this is Kaido's son, and he didn't say anything else about it. And then this is the thing that I think people should just wrap their heads around it. Luffy immediately didn't ask any questions. Luffy was just like, okay, so that's Yama, bro.
Well,
like that's it.
Luffy did go, wait, a man? And Yamato went, yes. And Luffy went, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. So I was like, for me, it's an open and shut. Like, I think whenever people like try to like argue, like, okay, Yamato's obviously a girl. She just thinks that she's a man. And it's like, why are you trying to psychoanalyze? Like, if the character themselves is telling you what they are, it's like, it doesn't have to be like more complicated than it is. Like, it's more than just like, it's just weird. I'll never forget that though. He was talking about like, I saying I was confusing the kids. All I did was say he. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Confusing the kids.
That was
the kids understand this more than
crazy.
you do.
That's what I was like. I was like, dude, I was so flabbergasted. I was so confused. I was like, this is like
I'll never forget the funniest thing that happened was when everyone, that side was expecting Sanji to basically be like, what? No, no.
idiots.
But instead what happened was Yamato went, I'm Kaido's son. And we just get a panel of Sanji running up and going, oh, yippee! Like,
Literally, I've never thought
fucking
Sanji
anything.
does not care. Sanji does not care at all. He doesn't like. He would. I think he's even like. He's gonna respect the pronouns, everything. He's still gonna have hard eyes and literally like everything. Like he just doesn't care. It just says something. Like Sanji, who is his training for the time skip is running from the Okama because he was scared to be dressed as a woman. Like he's that afraid of that and like
Femininity.
Yeah. Like he's that afraid of embracing his own femininity. He didn't question it. He was just like, well, you know what? If that's a man, I'm gay. I don't care. I truly don't care.
It was so funny. They were truly expecting Sanji to be like, what? No. That's a girl. Instead, he just hard eyes. Yippee, Kaido's son.
Yeah, literally. Nobody gave a damn. So I don't know. I hope. And then like all the Beaver cards that come out. I don't know. I just hope. It's too much to hope that. I'm not even gonna. It doesn't like. It's just always gonna exist. It's just crazy that One Piece, like, it's just so overtly like Oda's not even trying to hide it. Like Oda has went to great lengths to like make it like, because it's one thing to just include characters for the sake of inclusion and then not write them good. I think there's ways that can be like insulting. Oda's never once done that. Every single character is fully fleshed out and amazing with their own story to tell, but still who they are and their orientation is pivotal and like important to their character.
I mean, there is argument, of course, of the Okama being a bad representation, and I think Oda himself might somewhat regret that because there's been no Okama jokes since like 2010, I think it was.
Yeah.
There's been here and there like Sanji's whole memories, blah blah blah. But recently, from what I can tell, Sanji's whole memories move, which was originally kind of a bit, I'll say that, has been, in my opinion, changed to mean something else, because as he was fighting Queen,
Yeah.
Queen was talking about his past, and Sanji said, "You know nothing about my past or what I've been through," and he yells "Hell Memories" as he says that.
So it could be a
In my
thriller bark
opinion,
kind
it
of
feels
thing.
like Hell Memories has now been changed into his childhood past, as he uses Ifrit Junbe with Hell Memories.
I
And I
think so
feel like
too,
Oda
yeah.
did that on purpose.
I think so too, because I think that like I think the joke, because I always obviously I knew that it was never any like any weird feelings that he had, but I do think if he does regret the joke, I think it's because people misinterpreted like how, or just like he didn't maybe interpret like what he wanted to the best in the time skip with the Okama, because like for me I immediately saw it as straight man trying not to be gay. That's Sanji's entire, and
Yeah.
that's why it was funny to me. Like the joke was never on the Okama, it was on Sanji's ridiculous attempts to escape his
Yeah.
own
His
sexuality.
toxic masculinity.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. That was always the joke for me. And but yeah, there hasn't been any Okama jokes at all. Well, wait, no,
Yeah,
Fishman
even with
Island
the
had like because
oh,
he had
I mean from like the 20,
oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2010s to like 2012s. In
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
current One Piece,
Oh yeah,
since
yeah,
then
yeah.
there hasn't
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah,
been
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I even like how in Whole Cake Island they talk about how Big Mom will blackmail you into oh no, it was the Vince Smokes. The Vince Smokes will blackmail you into like, doing what they say, or they'll kill someone beloved to you. And they said for Sanji, that could be family, that could be crew, or it could be the Okamas, because he had a bond with the Okamas. He had a bond with Ivan. And there's much implication that Iva and Sanji like really like each other, because I really like when Sanji's Vinsmoke poster comes out and we get a shot of Iva saying, "He was a Vinsmoke? Why didn't he tell me?" And then we have a shot in Egghead of Shaka saying to Sanji and all that, "Yeah, Iva's like one of the revolutionary leaders." And Sanji goes, "What the fuck? Why didn't they tell me that?" So there's implication that they were like chatting it up and having, lots of fun little dinners together.
Oh, you
But
know he had fun. Like Sanji had a lot of fun. He just
yeah,
can't ever like I know he was in those dresses and I know he was putting on makeup and I know he was feeling like because
he was
there's that
feeling
scene he was feeling himself. He
feeling
really
so
was.
nice. And then Ace died and he went, "I can't be
Yeah,
lollygagging in
literally.
this island."
That's exactly. And he just completely like, no, it's time for me to buckle down and be a man. And Eva must have
Be a
been like,
man.
okay, well, all right, that's fine, I
It's just
guess.
so funny that Kuma saw Sanji and said, "I know exactly where this guy needs to go." He said, "Iva's
Ah.
gonna love this one."
That does reframe it all because they were best friends, like Kuba and
They were
Iva.
best
So
friends.
he was just like, I know exactly where to send you. That's so funny. For Sanji, if you had to give him like an overall verdict, like if you would say like, who he is and what he deserves, maybe that's too broad of a question, but if you could just encompass just as a closing, I suppose, statement, what would you say to convince people of Sanji's maybe character, maybe his goodwill, just whatever
Yeah.
you want people to know?
Um, I think I'll open this with Murphy Napier said it best. He's the best character when he's not the worst character. I think about that all the time. Because yes, Sanji has moments that are just uh not great. But I think what I would say is just give him a chance, because there are times where even I will be like, I don't really like that. But his best moments are much more plentiful and they really outshine the bad moments. And of course, the anime doesn't help. So I always recommend reading the manga with that, because he's so much tamer in the manga, so much tamer. But my biggest thing with Sanji is like, don't think of him as so simple. I think the issue that happens is people think Sanji's just a gag character. He's just run and done. He is surface level and that's it. If you see Sanji on surface level, you are going to dislike him, because on the surface, he's just a joke, right? But that's how Oda writes. On the surface, he will write a joke. Under that is where he gives you the iceberg, essentially. Same can be said for Zoro. The surface of Zoro was, this is just a cool guy. The iceberg of Zoro is so much more than that, in his anxieties and his strengths and his protection and his wills and his wants. And Sanji's exactly the same. So the only thing I'll say about Sanji is just give him a chance. Look deeper than what you're seeing. Look into more meanings of what he's saying. I promise you there will always be more meanings of anything he says. and you will like him if you come to understand that this is how Oda writes all of his characters, not just Sanji.
Hell yeah, I love that. You will like Sanji. I love the
You will like
yeah,
Sanji.
I love that. I love that, and I completely agree. I would say, just for my closing argument, I just think two things can be true at once. I believe he is a hopeless romantic that should be in horny jail. You know, I think that he is probably at this point in the story the deepest in terms of writing for the Straw Hats. Like, there's so much you can pull from him and his past. Like, there's so much you can like imagine going forward. I just think that there's a lot there. There's more to love than to hate, and even the things that you do hate about him, you can go back and kind of feel, you can understand why he's doing that and why he is the way that he is. You can just, you know,
Exactly. That's it.
yeah. I think
Even his
yeah.
gags, you can explain why this is happening. You can explain his hard eyes. You can explain sometimes his disgusting thing that's happened. And that doesn't mean we can forgive him. But the fact there's a reason there means enough, right? Because everyone has flaws. I always see those things as this is an unsightly flaw Sanji has a lot of the time. That's how sometimes we are meant to take it. If it doesn't make you laugh, you can at least see it as this is just a human being of a character who just goes through bad phases, as we all do, right? Maybe not to the extent of Sanji, but that's still how I see him. In terms of, I didn't like that part of Sanji. However, I can acknowledge him as a flawed character, and I think that's what he's meant to be. So that's just how I see even his unsightly moments.
I think that there's a lot of meaning. Like, I think that the like you said, the way that Oda uses like laughs and gags, I think there's always a deeper meaning to it. But also, I think that's like, for me, the reason I fell in love with One Piece was the humor. Like, I think that that's like a good, so for every good joke, even if a gag doesn't land, like there's always something underneath it, and there's a reason to like appreciate
Exactly.
it.
One Piece is one of the funniest series I've ever watched or read, and I wasn't prepared for that. No one told me how funny it was. I was belly laughing like every few episodes.
It's so funny. That's the whole reason my channel exists, and it's like why, like, it's just it's like it's become like such a source of community, because for me, like, that's where the true like it is the best story that I've ever read in my entire life. It's also the funniest. Like, Luffy is hilarious, Sanji is hilarious. Like, they're all of those lunatics are hilarious, and the jokes. It's the jokes that mean the most to me after the dust settles. Like, whenever like a really impactful moment happens and it hits me the hardest, they'll accent it with a joke to remind me of how close these idiots are to each other, and it's just so cool. I love it.
Yeah. Do you know how upset I am that I've become that person that says, please watch One Piece? I cannot believe, never in my life did I think I'd be that person, and here I am being that person. Oh, please watch One Piece. I promise it's good. I promise it's good.
That was me whenever I was like getting caught up, and then for like a year after I was caught up, I could not stop. And then the One Piece live action came out, and I had hope, because now people who can't read and who don't watch cartoons, maybe they will. Read. You know.
Another remake's coming out for Wit. Oh my god, I'm really excited for the Wit remake. I'm really excited for that.
Do you think they're gonna get like new voice cast? Did they release any information?
I do, yeah.
I think they
haven't,
should.
no, but I do think they will, because it's just too much otherwise. And I think I'm excited about that, because I do think this is a new generation of, you know, One Piece fans that's about to come out. A new generation of One Piece, essentially. And I do think that does call for new voice actors, because that doesn't discredit the old voice actors. It's just, they're old. One Piece is still going. I don't think they can keep doing this forever.
Fantastic talk. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You've opened my eyes on so many Sanji character, like now I wouldn't even say flaws or even boons, just like things I never realized about his character. Like, I've realized a lot about this. I consider you actually the head Sanji researcher now. Like, that is just
that's
just
my
you.
job. That's my job, baby. All I do is make people like Sanji.
It's literally just you. Like, that's what it is. And going forward now, if I ever have any questions on Sanji, I know exactly where to go.
I mean, for the record, I do know a lot about the other Straw Hats. If you have any questions,
it's just
any questions about that.
Every video will eventually turn into a Sanji video, though. I just figured this would have been the perfect time. Like, we got it. I don't even think we got it all out. That's what's crazy. I feel like there's probably still more to go, but like we didn't even
talk about Thriller Bark. We didn't even talk about the Skypiea scenes with an L. There's so much
Yeah.
to talk. The Mr. Prince. We didn't talk about any of this.
Oh my
shit, but-
God, we didn't talk about Mr. Prince. Yeah, this is gonna have to be like, well, this is good that this will be a series that I'll do. The next time we gotta get into like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't talk about Mr. Prince. Oh my God. Please check out Melon T if you haven't already. She is fantastic and her videos are amazing. And this conversation's been hilarious and she's hilarious. And consider following her on Twitter if you want, you know, the most
Sanji
like
content.
it's like just like endless Sanji content and the most like I enjoy it. I wouldn't even consider it like unhinged isn't the word. What's the word? I would look passionate, I suppose. Like passionate
You
Sanji.
can say unhinged. That's okay. I'm a little bit unhinged.
No, because I think it's the truth. You're spreading the truth. Like this is who Sanji is. And I really think the ending where we actually like concisely like go over what we think Sanji is, I really think that was eloquent enough for people to forgive him for being in horny jail. I really do think so.
Well, don't forgive, but
Yeah,
understand.
Understand is the word. Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for being here, and I thank everybody for watching. Thank you for being here, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.